The following video you are going to be watching today is a two-part retrospective mini-series I have put together into one massive video now. But just so it's not a complete copy and paste, I've done some tweaks to it. First thing is that I went back to watch both videos and trimmed out anything I considered as fat, just for anybody that is not involved with the game and wants to know what it's been like since I started the documentation of it. I also went back and polished certain things about the video that needed to be polished and re-recorded some bits as well because of things I deemed as sugarcoating. Yeah, there was a lot of that, so I went back and just said it how it needs to be said. As a bonus here, I also recorded a part 3 epilogue for anything that came out after that second part and just some other things to talk about as well. If I somehow miss anything of importance, keyword importance, or anything that I talk about that has now gotten updated, it's either in the original parts, it will be brought up later in the video, or I and others that watched back this video with me didn't think it was that important to talk about here. Something to keep in mind here, folks, this video is probably going to be 2+ hours long, so some things are going to need to be cut if it's not that important. The comment section is open, but if you do so in a way we are so butthurt and you start crashing out about it, I have to say this because it did happen, all the pirate YouTubers and I will start making fun of you. Also, sorry if the audio is a bit low in both parts. I had a different audio interface, now I have an upgraded one, and this was like the first big project I was tackling too. With that being said, sit down, crack a cold Dr. Pepper as you put me on as background noise, and enjoy the video. Let me set the stage for you guys and send you back 13 years ago. It's between late 2012 and early 2013. It's early in the morning, but your family is still sound asleep in the house, except for you. You head to the family computer, boot up Old Reliable, and go to click on a certain MMO game you saw your friends playing at their house. You wait for the loading to complete, click the play button, and realize you forgot to turn the volume down. Shit. Turn down, where's the mute button? Did anyone hear that? October 15th, 2012, the day of a launch of an MMO freemium game where I got to live out my second place option of what I wanted to be when I grew up. For those wondering, first place was to be a train conductor like Thomas the Tank Engine. And then I realized what it's actually like, so. But my second place option was to live out the dream of being a no-good, filthy, dead-eyed Pirate101. For those who don't know what Pirate101 is or need a refresher, Pirate101 is an MMORPG which is still active and running for over 12 years now. The story goes that you're a pirate that is an orphan due to insert brutal and unfortunate situation to your parents here. You became a prisoner of the game's main big bad army known as the Armada because of insert silly antics of your choosing here, but are rescued by these two friendly pirates that successfully break you out and send you to the main island of the game to begin even more silly antics, but as a captain. Another way that might help you out is that it was made by KingsIsle Entertainment that also made this funny wizard game that just so happened to also end in 101. I wasn't really that interested in Wizard 101. Don't think my family computer liked it that much either whenever I tried to boot it up, but Pirate 101 was my crack in middle school and in my early years of high school. And during those times, I would just hop on the game and play on it for hours and hours again and again, and oh my god, it's nighttime. I would be playing this game hours on end, which would probably have me push back homework, but that's okay. I graduated, so it worked out in the end, I guess. And this game will definitely have a special place in my heart with countless other childhood video games as I grew up. As time went on though, I finally did manage to hit the game's endpoint at the time being, but we wouldn't receive the next main update that'll continue the story. During that time span, they would still put out some quality of life updates here and there that would either enhance the game experience or make it easier for new players. Some examples are buffing existing companions or adding new ones for each class that'll greatly benefit them, not you. Another one of these being that they actually expanded the beginning and prologue for these 3 ghost rats and blood shoals. But while those updates were nice, I was still waiting on for like the big boy update to finally drop for the story. And while in 2016 we finally got that main story update, being Valencia Part 2. I should probably mention now that there's going to be some major spoilers going throughout this video from Valencia Part 2 and onward, so if you haven't seen that yet and want to experience it yourself, here is your warning now. At the time of this update, I thought it was fine, but did think it ended the main story where we were following very abruptly with us at the end of this update defeating the leader of the Armada, Kane. It also had the ghost of our parents telling us that El Dorado, the thing we've been doing for like 2/3 of the story, isn't really worth it, and then ends with an eerie look of the defeated Armada men with Kane's right-hand woman Queen reactivating, then fading into a to be continued. Unfortunately, after this, players will then go back into another long process of waiting for another main story update. 5 years actually. During this 5-year span, you would also see the player amount just start to drop off the face of the earth. Almost all except for the main one, Avery, would be at perfect, where Avery here and there might be normal. Summer of 2021, we would finally get some more expansion to the story, being Sinbad Part 1. 2 years later, we would get Parts 2 and 3, and then in 2024, we would get some more, being Tartarus and Crocotopia. Since the release of these updates, fans have been pretty vocal about their mixed feelings regarding these updates. As for me, I'm also in that category of being mixed as well. There's some things about this update that I do like, and then there's some stuff about these updates that I'm just either not a fan of, or I'm very adamantly against it to where it ruins my experience playing this game. It kind of feels like as these updates go on, the less I like it and have a want to play that part of the story, especially if I have to pay for it. Pirate101 is a freemium game, where the game is free to play until you hit a certain point where you either have to buy it with crowns or become a member. In this video, I thought I'd discuss these updates all in one video, from going as early as May 12th, 2014 all the way to as recent as November 2024. I want to give my thoughts on them, as I feel like 2014 was where it did start to become this domino effect of these updates being the boiling point to where many users and I are criticizing what the game is now. I want to try and steer away as much as possible from trying to compare Pirate101 and Wizard101. Though I will say I will bring up Wizard and compare just how long they were able to achieve during this time frame and this time frame regarding updates. But I do know that these are two different teams working with two different budgets, by the way. Third thing I want to mention is that even though I played this game since close to its beginning, I do need to mention that I haven't been really active in the community. What I mean by that is whenever I play Pirate101, I just be either playing by myself, or in the rare instances I bring on my friend, or whenever I'm playing it by myself, I run into other people that are at that certain point that I am as well in the story. At the end of the day, this is just my opinion. I definitely think a lot of people are going to disagree with what I have to say in this video, and that's totally okay. As long as we keep it like civil, respectful, kind, nice, all that jazz in the comments, and we don't tell me to like walk the plank in a non-friendly manner. I'd appreciate that, you know? I've rambled on long enough now. I am a professional yapper. So let's get on to the updates. May 12th, 2014. This update actually had a lot of new and improved qualities of life changes to Pirate that are pretty much vital to how we play the game today. To list some of them, there are ways that you can have your companions fight, whether that be the first 3 companions, random except your first mate, or all random. Companion tasks like getting nautical XP, gold, or training points if at max level with you, class companions that I mentioned earlier, Shoutout Peter Quint, new visual effects for casting certain powers from the class it was given by, doubloons, and a whole new island to train and morph pets, being Bestia. The biggest one to me from this update was the one I mentioned earlier, being the expansion to the beginning and prologue from Blood Shoals with the 3 ghost rats. I was a fan of this update as it made the game much better in certain areas while also improving and building on more of the 3 branch quests from the ghost rats. In general, this update was pretty great for the game as players were still anticipating for the next story update, but I do have a problem with this update, being that its paywall changed. Before this update, the free-to-play areas would be all of Skull Island Skyway until you get to a point where you went to the Presidio to retrieve the spices for the Frog Father. During this, you would also free someone who knew your parents and then would join your crew afterwards. The Frog Father would also mention how our parents had special docking privileges and had a ship still there where we could use it to sail to the next Skyway. But as we reached the private dock, that's where the paywall would hit. After this update, it feel like it pretty much cut the update in half, from having all of Skull Island Skyway to just Skull Island and then a little bit of Blood Shoals. You wouldn't even be able to play all 3 of the Ghost Rat quests. The only quest you would be able to play for free is Manny's, and that's with Azteca and Zol Akmul, whereas Jack and Mo's quests are pay to play. That is where the paywall hits now. Or so I thought. Like I said, I've been playing this game since 2012, but what I didn't know is that this is actually the third time the paywall changed. You see, I did message someone to make sure that everything I got here in this video looks good enough and that I'm not messing up on any of my facts, but he points out a difference that we had at this point. You see, I mentioned that for me, the free-to-play area was all of Skull Island until we had to get to the next skyway. Whereas for him, it was actually when you go to Trader's Cave, and then once more, when you be approaching the dock of Jonatown. While we were confused at this part, he actually found out that we had to look a bit more further back into the update notes, being in March 27th, 2013, where the paywall changed to what he was used to. The reason why it wasn't happening to me like that is because I had it before, so they gave me premium access for any players at that point. So now with this new information, I can definitely say that the third instance of the paywall is much better than the second one, as you had just a little bit more to do, just a little bit more, but it makes a big difference than just kind of abruptly stopping at the cave. Can you imagine, oh, we gotta go get Ratbeard, we gotta go get this son of a bitch, and then you're like, oh, he's in his cave, and then it just stops right there. Whereas in this instance, you get into the cave, see what actually happened to the ghost rat, play one of them, and then you have the option of paying to play the rest of it and complete the last two. But of course, for me, I still think the first paywall that they had is the superior one, as you had all of the first skyway, and then you'd be barking to a new skyway only for the paywall to hit, and it's like, oh, you're about to go into a new area. Do you want to keep paying to play? You want to give us some money to go into that part of it? Thankfully, the paywall isn't too expensive if you're playing on crowns, because it only costs like $375 to unlock the Ghost Rat quest. Whereas when you get farther into the story, it will rack up in the 1 and 2,000s. But as someone who has played it before the shrinkage, I will say that I'm a little bummed out or disappointed that it got shrunk so much. Personally, I don't know if that's enough gameplay for someone that's new to Pirate to see if like they want to actually spend money to play the rest of this story or not. But if you were a new player that came around during this time where that paywall hit, let me know if it was really that effective for you in the comments below. Even with this little bother I have, the good from this update outweighed it so much. And again, a pretty solid update. And now before we get to Valencia Part 2 in 2016, I at least wanted to mention the little tidbits of minor updates between May 2014 and 2016. So after May 2014, we then go on to September 2014, where we get 4 noteworthy additions to the game. Those being the recall ability to a dungeon, so if you happen to lose or you're doing it by yourself and you teleport out, now you can just click the button instead of leaving a port near it and sailing all the way back there. There's also team up, where if you're taking on a dungeon but don't want to do it alone due to like difficulty, and also the part of just running around Skull Island, well, now you can click the option team up, and hopefully someone by the team up ledger in Skull Island can help and join you. The third addition being the Tower of Mu Manchu, which carries on the side story of this evil sorcerer named, of course, Mu Manchu. It's like the area to go and grind gear for like the longest time. I just want the cool glowing red eyes. That's all I want from this dungeon. But my favorite out of all of them though is the fast travel for Cool Ranch. Players of this game know that Cool Ranch is the longest part of the game and can take a while to travel from place to place, especially back before this update. Now I just have to go to the main island in the Skyway and give this buffalo 15 coins, and I've saved a few minutes already. Try playing throughout Cool Ranch without using the fast travel. I dare you. I triple dog dare you. You're not gonna get far. I know it. Other than that, good, small, but helpful updates to the quality of life. November 2014 was just some like small bug fixes here and there, but in 2014 of December, we actually got 3 noteworthy updates to the game, being the Black Market, Smuggler's Arena, and adding companions in your houses. Yay! I don't really use the Black Market, nor do I bother with Smuggler's Arena, so those who want to put in the comments below how useful they are or if it's worth it, I'd appreciate that. As for companions in the house, yeah, it's nice. If you got max nautical XP and gold, don't need any more training points, and are happy with your pet and gear, then yeah, let them roam around. Look at them go. Dude, I swear, every time I try to record a video, that's when I start to get sick. Piss. A little over half a year later is when we get another noteworthy update in August 2015, which brought ranked PvP. Not my cup of yum, but again, let me know how we feel about it in the comments below. We also got the Nautical Gauntlet, burn it, and finally we have the Secret Trainers, which are located in Devilfish Hollow and can help whether you want to add on more epic talents to benefit your pirate. And that's the end of the minor updates leading up to Valencia Part 2. Again, some nice, decent updates to really enhance the quality of life or just your your playing experience. But during this point, players are still having that anticipation for when the next part of the story will drop. It's already been a year at this point since the beginning and prologue expansion, but it has been 2 years since Marleybone and Aquila were added, and has been over 3 years by the time Valencia Part 2 will drop. Will it be worth the wait, or will people crash out? It's been a couple years, so you probably have seen reactions already to it. June 2016. The moment has finally arrived for that main part of the story to continue, being Valencia Part 2. But before I go into Valencia Part 2, let me also mention the 3 other drops that came from this update. First one being that the level cap increased from 65 to 70. Second one is connected to the first one, being new talents for your pirate to learn at 70. And finally, your Presidio companion now has a 3rd promotion at level 68, with the quest being Bob's Your Uncle. Pretty solid in my opinion, and I think it's funny how in the final fight with Captain Hand, you may either have a hard time against him or completely wash the floor with him and take his other hand out of pity. To summarize this story, we continue from where we left off by finishing Aquila after deciphering a message thanks to the help of Meowiarty, that a man went by the initial G knows how to defeat Kane, that we need to seek out someone known as Cagliostro. We head back to Avery, who tells us Cagliostro lives in the richer part of Valencia, different from where we were much earlier on, and because of the war, it'll be pretty hard to reach the capital, and our best bet is to go through the spooky, scary, and red skyway, Avernus. We head back to Monquista to seek out our good pal Gortez to let us use that skyway once more, but then he tells us that it'll just give us diplomatic immunity, all thanks to this guy. Once we arrive, we do a favor to receive this unicorn spot in line to seek an audience from the King and Queen of Valencia. Wacky shenanigans occur during this, by the way, probably should mention that. After that, we meet this unicorn guy known as Ladina, that tells us how we resparked the resistance and how we also found a letter from Cagliostro to seek him out, which we do after a few fights. Cagliostro tells us that the mysterious G person is actually Gazpacho, which is the creator of Kane. They tell us where Gazpacho is being held, which is in the Clockworks, the place where the Armada soldiers are made. Once we finally reach Gazpacho, he goes into a Dr. Doofusmer's puppet story backstory about how he was a toy maker, but greed blinded him. Tortellini wants to make hip and cool machine men. Gazpacho makes it. Tortellini betrays him. Gazpacho seeks revenge and makes Kane. Kane instead does the opposite. Kane made Steakin and Rook and go imprison Gazpacho. Before we could leave the island with Gazpacho, there was one more thing that he needs that is vital to his plan, being the strange mechanic piece that he got from El Dorado. Turns out, Gazpacho has been there. He was the one that took this photo, but Capier butts in about how they swore an oath to never talk about what happened, aka what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Gazpacho, being the absolute chat he is, says to hell with the oath and tells us about what happened. During the celebration, the Golden Sentinels of El Dorado came to life and caught the crew by surprise, leaving only a handful being able to escape and board onto a ship. One of the Sentinels managed to get on the ship, which the crew did defeat. Afterwards, Gazpacho claims his share, being the broken pieces of the machine. The 2 pieces that are most important from the dismantled Sentinel were the Golden Heart, which is what we possess, and the Golden Mine, which is inside of Kane. Okay, let's pause it right here. First, I want to discuss about my thoughts of what I think about Valencia Part 2 so far. The first noteworthy discussion of this update that I want to mention is that holy shit, the difficulty spike. There have only been a few moments where the story has actually gotten difficult for me, and would honestly say was a true challenge nowadays. The Hydra fighting IKEA has constantly stayed a challenge for me, whereas in past fights it was like Captain Blood, Duck of Death, Rook, General So were challenges when I was younger, but not as much anymore. Rook, he's still there though. But this is on like another level. My companions were like dying in the first or second turn, and these aren't even bosses. Yes, it's in a dungeon, but this is also like the 3rd fight of the story. Technically, it's the 4th fight. I'm not counting the Sky Guard. That is fucking Batacuda Deviant Art, alright? The first 2 fights are fine though, as they have epic talents at rank 2 like Relentless, Repose, and Vengeance Strike. But in the Throne Room Dungeon Duomo, I might have a moment where 2 Royal Guards or Battle Angels just jump one of my companions with a charge or strike attack. I don't like that. And there's also like a line that Sinbad gives where and then there's also a line that Sinbad gives, and he's dead. So while I'm not liking the difficulty spike right there, I can at least say it's not consistent at this part of the story. It seems like as long as I'm not fighting a swashbuckler, I'll be fine. But another positive I do have for this update is that I'm really liking the story so far. Emphasizing though, the so far. Already there are some big stakes as we are in the heart of where the Armada is, but it's more different as we're in the upper echelons of Valencia, and we're also a big name, you know, we're a little bit more well known, and we have an immunity that won't last forever. I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but like think of Luke Skywalker walking around the Death Star, but the stormtroopers can't shoot him because his dad works for the Empire.
Please clap.
On top of that, the Resistance has been revived from what we last saw, and now we have the maker of Kane freed and on our side. Even with the difficulty spike being like iffy at best, I'm still really liking this update so far. Speaking of the so far, this is the part where I think many players, or at least I, start to see the story start to drop the ball. So once Gazpacho tells us about what happened at El Dorado and about the heart and mind, he tells us his plan on what to do, which is just batshit crazy, by the way. Gazpacho plans on going to Kang's sanctum and installing the golden heart into Kane so he will go from bad to good. After Monkey King reacts the same way on what we all probably did at that moment, the rest of the crew just goes like, oh yeah, sure, no, why not? You know, what's the worst thing that could happen? So we escape the clockworks, talk to this guinea pig who I think him and Monkey King will be best friends due to his reaction to the plane as well. Go to Kang's sanctum, which just so happens to have a path cleared for us thanks to fuel, along with the front door open, also thanks to fuel. And well, we go inside and oh look, the worst thing happened as Gazpacho stands literally in the front lines with the golden heart literally out in the open, proclaiming to Kane to come out so we can make him a good guy again. Then Kane pops out right in front of us and says, nah, I'm good, and shoots the heart, destroying it, and then kills Gazpacho. Some plan that was, right? And on top of that, Kane tells us that he has won, which we promptly say nuh-uh, but he replies back with yuh-huh because he worked out how the map was made and made his own map. Now he plans on to sail to El Dorado where he can become perfect due to everything but his mind being made by man. Then after that, destroy the spiral. Fuel mentioned that part of Kane's story, by the way, just slipped my mind, you know. Well, now we can't just turn around and try again another day. Now can we? We fight some troops. Kane tells his machine to plan his escape craft and destroy the chamber, but the machine doesn't really feel like it, as that would destroy it and will not fulfill its purpose. Kane's not happy. We make the machine break and we go upstairs to fight Kane himself, Bishop, a newly built Deacon and Rook, and Queen, and holy shit, Queen's a swashbuckler. We're screwed. Better take her out before she hits you with her assassin strike, or you either lose or have a less favorable matchup continuing the fight. Once everyone is defeated, it's just Kane left, and then boom, he's down for the count. The machine then lifts him up like he's Robot Jesus, takes his mind out from him, and sucks it away. Where? I don't know, who cares? You probably didn't know what was going on if you were first playing this part when it came out, cause the cutscene was buggy. After that, our parents are shown on the crystals where they tell us, hey, you know that place El Dorado where we told you to find us? Yeah, not worth it because there's like death over there. There's death and destruction and bad guys and multiple copies of the Brother Bear movie and Andy Dick. Don't look him up, he's not a good guy. You don't want to go there and witness that. Just let us go. You saved the spiral, and the spiral is everything. And we're also proud of you. Okay, bye now. We head back to Avery where somehow news has already spread that Kane is defeated, where he also gives us a pat on the back and a yar-har. And it ends with showing us the defeated chessboard of all the Armada men lifeless on the ground, but uh-oh, Queen is still up and running as it transitions into a to be continued, with Queen laughing evilly in the background. Well, that's the update. It's kind of quick. Just like that, we defeated Kane. I don't know how to feel about that. I think this guy on Reddit says one word that summarizes this part of the story well, and I'll also link in the description below if you want to read more about it. But that one word that does a good job summarizing it is being rushed. Players waited for 3 years for a continuation of the main story, only for it to just end a pretty damn big part of the story by us defeating Kane, killing off the toy maker, telling us that El Dorado isn't something we should really go for, and then showing us Queen is still alive with the biggest cliffhanger for this game. Really? To end off Valencia Part 2, I'll leave it at that it had some good upsides, and I really did like the 3 other additions with the update, like the Presidio Companion, as they're one of my favorite main story companions, but the end does leave a sour taste in my mouth still. And I didn't know where to put this in the updates as it doesn't mention this, but a few companions got some new promotions. 2 out of the bunch that were Catbeard and Gracie Conrad. 2 main story companions. For side quest companions, or those that are not integral to the story, for example the legendary Nanu, you will have to pay gold to promote him, whereas main story companions like Bonnie Ann and Ratbeard, you'd do a quest. Catbeard and Gracie are main story companions, but instead of a quest, you just pay gold. Honestly, it's really disappointing and does not help the case in that Valencia 2 was rushed out. At the time this update came out, I thought this update was fine and didn't really have that much of a problem with it, but that's when my lack of being a part of the community comes into play. I didn't know about the 2 things that played a major role in all of this, being the big focus on mobile games and their original plan. For the mobile games, I'm not going to comment too much on it as my knowledge on this part is not the greatest, but it's still something I want to mention as it seems to be possibly playing a role regarding Pirate101. But during the 2010s, mobile games were just popping off overnight. Some notable ones being Jetpack Joyride, Clash of Clans and Royale, Flappy Bird, Candy Crush Saga, and Subway Surfers. What all these games have in common, with Royale being an outlier in this, is that they came out relatively the same time. What are the odds? But Pirate also came out in 2012. Hey, from what I could find on Reddit posts, it seems like KingsIsle wanted to dip their toes in the mobile games genre, as again, the games were popping off. They did release 2 mobile games, with one being in 2012 with Grub Guardian and in 2015 with Rise and Destroy. But it seems like they really wanted to make an effort in the mobile games genre, as they might have put all their focus on them while pretty much abandoning their MMOs. Sorry, did I say MMOs plural? I meant MMOs singular, really. This is the part where I will be comparing Wizard and Pirate here, as I need to mention this, but from November 2013 to November 2016, Wizard got major updates in Chrysalis Part 1 and 2, Aquila and its dungeon zones, 4 other dungeons in Shangri-La, Buckingham Palace, House of Scales, in Castle Darkmoor, Polaris, and then a few months after Pirate's big update, they received Mirage. What did Pirate get again? A couple quality of life additions, a revamped expansion for the prologue, and a slight adjustment to the free-to-play area. The updates are good and nice for the game, and I should mention that these are 2 different teams with different budgets again, but at the same time, it's hard to not look at the 2 and just be bummed out, to put it lightly, as a fan of this game. It feels like Pirate101 got abandoned, or even had team members taken off of that project to work on the mobile games, which didn't even work out. In May 2016, a month before Valencia Part 2 dropped, KingsIsle announced a massive layoff from their Austin location with 72 employees. This quote from the Dayton Daily News states that, to verify, KingsIsle had a reduction in force on May 12th, which impacted some of our talented employees, and we wish them the best. This coincides with a couple of unreleased mobile games being cancelled. The strategy is to refocus our efforts on our MMO games and polish our more promising mobile projects, many of which are still slated for a 2016 release. Fans of our MMOs should know that Pirate101 is soon to receive an update and will be going into test run most likely next week. Wizard101 has new content updates in the works for both summer and fall 2016. One thing that I knew was that KingsIsle does have a small team, but what I didn't know was the actual size, and that I found out from Blaze Life's Hammer's video discussing the layoffs, being 200 total members are in the team. But apart from the quote that stood out to me was the cancellation of a couple unreleased mobile games, and that they're refocusing on their MMOs and polishing the more promising mobile games set to release soon. It's words like that where it feels like Pirate did get abandoned, and all of this was just for nothing but for employees to get laid off. It's words like that that make me feel like they did abandon Pirate, and it was all for nothing and only affected the employees, with many of them being laid off. I heard that the guy that does the puppet shows for Pirate was one of the people who got laid off. That's sad. I hope that wasn't true. This all happened, by the way, a month before Valencia Part 2 was set to release. But hey, they're back to refocusing on the MMOs. That's great news. But I have to still mention the original plan. A few days ago, one of the developers that works on Pirate, Blind Mew, put out a post on Pirate101 forums discussing its latest update, but wanted to answer some people that felt like the update was a bit short to previous installments. Not only that, but the story veered away from the original plan, which he tells us that we're correct. I never knew that there was actually an original plan to this part of the story, only really recently when I did learn about it. Thankfully, someone did send me like the original plan for it, but later on I did find out the actual forum post for it. From what Blind Mew posted, he said, "So what happened? Well, after a hiatus that ended up being way too long, we got the ball rolling again on book 15, but it took some changes to do it. Long story short, I had to make a long story shorter. And then there was the ending. I made a decision early in the revision process to bring Arc 1 to a close in book 15 instead of book 20. I want to be able to move on from here with a cleaner slate, without the momentum of those huge previous books pushing on the story. After such a long wait, I wanted to answer some of the questions I've been bedelving y'all with for quite some time. Of course, I couldn't help raising some new ones. So what was the original plan? Well, a day later, he does post what the original plan was supposed to be, being that in book 15's original end had you working with the resistance to smuggle Gazpacho out of Valencia. You weren't originally going to enter the machine until book 18. Gazpacho was going to be installed into a secret workshop off of Avery's court and turn into the primary quest driver for the next few books. As originally planned, books 16 and 70 will deal with Gazpacho's original plan on how to defeat Kane. It didn't involve just slotting the heart into him, thank God. As you'll recall from your Aquaman prophecies, a hand and an eye were also mentioned. Gazpacho's plan was to build a second super clockwork on Kane's level, but good instead of evil. His name was going to be Abel. In book 16, you would have gathered some of the parts that Gazpacho needed. Then he would have told you about the heart, which was the goal of book 17. Book 18 was when you finally entered the machine, using Abel and his resemblance to Kane to sneak into the heart of Kane's inner sanctum. There you would have stolen Kane's map pieces and had a major confrontation with Kane himself on a chessboard. Gazpacho's plan would fail and Abel wouldn't make it out, but as a consolation, you will track down Erica the Red's map piece, meaning you had all 7 at last. After that, book 19 will be a race with Kane to El Dorado, and the final confrontation with him would come on the golden streets of El Dorado in book 20. Yes, I'm being super vague here. Be right back, guys. I'm gonna just go into that corner or that corner over there and just hold my frog feather plushie and then just start crying, just start bawling my eyes out, because that shit sounds so good, god damn it. This is gonna be the first time I have to butt in here to tweak what I have to say here. I even whipped out the green screen here, so that's how you know it's getting serious. In this portion of the video, I discussed the problem with altering the first arc story to have it end here instead of a few more chapters later. While that isn't the part that's changing, it's mainly what I begin to say here, being I'm glad that he's happy with the way the game turned out. The reason why I said this is because I was just being too nice, and again, sugarcoating. I mean, yeah, you can feel satisfied with how the game turned out and how you ended this part of the story, finally ending an arc for the game. But at what cost? Hooray! After 4 long years, we ended Arc 1 and we can now start working on Arc 2. It only costs us to rush towards the end, defeat the big bad of this part of the story in an anticlimactic way. Hot take right there, probably. And now what we're working on for 2/3 of the story is now dropped. Players and I myself thought we would now be focusing on a different major goal and we would never get to finish the map and reach El Dorado. But to build up this arc for so long, just for it to end the way it did, then shortly afterwards tell about how the original story was gonna go, is sad but hilarious at the same time. I'm gonna say Arc 1 is the equivalent of going through all the grades in school. You're in senior year of high school now. You're almost there. You're at the finish line, but guess what? You're the graduating class of 2020. Can't relate to that though. I actually graduated a year later. I actually got to have a graduation. Oh, wild stray incoming! Bang! Boom! I can't stand up, but should probably preference this. I am not a game developer. I've never worked on a game before, but maybe it would have been a good idea to just go along with the original plan and then follow up with the community being like, hey, this may take a while. But even if that was the case, I would hope it wouldn't have taken as long as it did to get to the first installment of Arc 2 story. It didn't take a few months, it didn't take 1 year, but it took 5 long years to get Arc 2 story content in the form of Sinbad Part 1. And by me saying that, you might be thinking, wow, they didn't upload anything in that 5-year span? No, they did. And instead of me explaining it for 4 long minutes, we're just gonna speed run through it. In order, Pirate101 players on September 2016 got a Dreadnought Armada dungeon with gear that is probably outdated at this point. 1 year later, they gave us the Party Barge side quest that has you deal with diplomats from other worlds, ultimately leading up to Avery getting kidnapped, with you going to rescue him and being able to play as him 2 in 1 fight. December 2017 gave us a brief encounter with gingerbread ships in the new Valencia Skyway. Not important, just want to mention how dry 2017 was. I don't even have footage of it. That was it. June 2018 gave us the best and biggest update so far, being a potion for a companion you get early in the game, old scratch behind an obsidian key dungeon. These are fights where the difficulty is at its hardest but offers good gear after winning. This is the first instance of one being tied with companion promotion, more on that second one later. Once you are done, you get a companion that is considered top tier in all classes except for my dear Buccaneer class. This same update brought item locking so you don't accidentally sell gear you wanted to keep, and Quest Finder, take a guess what that does. October 2019 brought us 2 more obsidian key dungeons that were fights against deviant versions of Ratbeard and Bonnie Ann, and that was it. Time. Whew. How'd I do? Alright, cool, sick. Alright, hit the showers. Nothing happened in 2020, take a guess why. But now comparing what Wizard did in that time frame, the difference is massive. Again, different team size here, but between 2016 and 2021, Wizard101 got 2 more worlds to conclude their 3rd arc of the story, and then 2 more to start their 4th arc of the story. Though one of those worlds is like considered the worst world in the game. I was gonna use that as like a big layup, like take that, but then Pirate101 said just wait 3 more years. And I know Wizard101 is the popular game between the two, but God, we're drowning out here, man! But now it's time to discuss Sinbad Part 1. Will it be a great follow-up to Valencia Part 2, or will it be a sign of what's to happen going forward? That's for you to find out. I already know, so you keep watching. Take it away, past me. June 2021. The same month, exactly 5 years after Valencia Part 2 released, being Sinbad Part 1. Part 1? Wait, what the fuck? Huh. Interesting. Part 1. Well, let's take a look at it then. As you're walking around Avery's court minding your own business, you are approached by 3 rats with the main rat known as Albino. They tell us about how their captain Sinbad is in trouble. Their crew was ambushed by this group called the Crushers, who plan to take Sinbad out to be the best pirate in the spiral and have the belt of champions go along with it. They couldn't get the belt off of Sinbad, so instead they kidnapped him. So they asked if we could save Sinbad by going to the Crushers' hideout in Devilfish Hollow. Even with how shady they came off, we still lend a hand to help them. We go to their lair and fight off members of the group that have similar vibes to WWE wrestlers with the way they talk, just in case the idea of a belt didn't give it away, or their leader calling the whole thing Crush-a-mania, by the way. After defeating the leader, we hear Sinbad in the next room. Albino says to guard the door, but our suspicions are proven as we've been set up this whole time. The Crushers actually had possession of the belt the whole time, and Sinbad and his crew needed them to be distracted so they could take the belt without them noticing. Not only that, but Sinbad betrays his crew by abandoning them for the Crushers to beat them up, though that doesn't really seem like that happened, as they just decide to truce and beat up our pirate instead. Gee, thanks guys. I did manage to beat this fight on my 2nd or 3rd go maybe. I don't have recording for my first playthrough of this till like a little bit later, and I really don't want to go through this again alone. The fight is much more difficult now, as you have to face more than the average amount of enemies, and they have multiple rank 2 epic talents, with some of them having rank 3 talents. Also, some of them having hits to lower your accuracy, assassin strikes, critical hits, don't gas me Pirate Central, I know Pafo has one, that will slice your health in half and can be a few levels higher than you at some points. Once defeated, Albino is heartbroken and tells you to meet him outside the lair. Albino wants revenge, but doesn't want the belt, but what the belt can unlock, being the Eye of the Liger, and oh, we're done. That's it? Another cliffhanger? We just got started, and it only took us like less than an hour to do part 1. Yep, that was Sinbad Part 1. A quick end that left me felt more teased than the teasing I did to your mom last night. More teased than when you're at a restaurant and you think you see the server approaching your table with a tray of food, turning out to be the table next to you. While the difficulty spike can be an issue for solo players and those who don't grind, I can say that I'm a little bit back to being interested into the story. I wonder how they'll continue it from here in Part 2. A year later. Sorry, did I say 1 year later? I meant 2 years later, in May 2023. The story of this part goes is that Albanon finally got a lead to where Sinbad is, being in the Ravaged Valley in Mushu. You reach where Sinbad's ship, the Chimera, is, and receive Albino as a companion. Your first main story companion, or one that isn't from gambling, since 2016. We also see the Chimera looking worse for wear, so most likely Sinbad is in this tower somewhere with his new crew, cheating on Albino. So now we we must fight our way to the top and see Sinbad going through what will be another breakup with his side chick. After the fight is won, Sinbad and Albano bicker at each other like ex-couples from a Disney Channel show back in the early 2010s. Sinbad lets us know that he no longer has the belt as he was betrayed by his new crew, and that crew was in cahoots with a terrible warlord from Raja known as Claw, who will also use the belt to get the Eye of the Liger, and oh my god, there's going to be a part 3, isn't there? Sinbad tells us some new info about the eye, being that it can destroy worlds in the spiral, and that Claw will use it to conquer Raja. So now we begrudgingly let Sinbad join the crew as we must go and save Raja and take back the Eye of the Liger before Claw does any bad things in the world. But before we end this part off, we have to go speak to someone in Avery's court that we haven't heard of since we started this game. You know him, you love him, it's Mr. Gandry. Never mind, the monkey is bugged. Once Mr. Gandry decided to come back, he tells us that he heard about us hunting the Belt of Champions and says there are much more that we need to know, and yep, there's a part 3. Sick. Yep, that was Sinbad part 2. A quick end that left me feeling more teased than the amount of teasing I did to your grandma last night. More teased than when you go to a McDonald's and you think they're going to call your number after saying the first 2 numbers matching them, then they say a different one at the end multiple times. While the difficulty spike can be an issue for solo players and those who don't grind, I can say that I'm a little bit back to being interested into the story. And just in case you didn't catch on to that, but that was an exact copy and paste with a little minor difference to it of what I said about Sinbad part 1. Albano sends you off to a location. You fight through hordes of enemies in a dungeon until you get to the final area with some of the enemies returning from the past fights. Leave the dungeon and talk to someone that leaves you on a mysterious cliffhanger. If Sinbad part 1 and 2 were actually combined, I probably wouldn't have this like criticism or nitpick, but it's that it took 2 years for this update to come out. Actually no, it took 2 years for this update to come out that felt like a copy and paste of what we just had again 2 years ago. Maybe I'd be more frustrated on this if it was actually pay to play for this area, but thankfully Sinbad part 1 through 3 are actually free to play. I say it with quotations because you still have to like pay in some sort of way to get to Mushu, Marleybone later on. It's just, you're gonna have to pay either way. It's just that part, it's free. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to pay crowns for a dungeon. Sick, thanks guys. But between the two, I'd probably say that part 2 is a bit better than part 1. One being that it's more solo friendly than part 1, which I do appreciate, but also you get companions. I love companions. I don't care if I've gotten them before or I'm getting them for the first time because I've never played this class before. I will love them no matter what. It's sick. It's nice. And now before we discuss Sinbad part 3, I need to mention that in August 2023, there was another small minor update with qualities of life changes into it. UI scaling is something I didn't really think about, but it's nice to have, you know. Mushu fast travel is great, but still confusing to me. And the last and the one I'm puzzled on the most is the changes to the beginning of the game with Skull Mountain and the Temple of Gloom. The changes here was that you no longer destroy the Troggy catapults and Shardon Shepherd is now straight across when you enter the Temple of Gloom instead of right by the staircase leading down to Finn. I really don't care about it as much. That's fine changes, though it bugs me that Bonnie Ann's dialogue doesn't really fit in here. But the one change I'm bugged about is that they nerfed Finn. Originally, Finn had epic talents of Pirate, Cheap Shot, Turn the Tide, Blade Storm, and Repel Borders 2. Now, he just has Pirate, Turn the Tide, and Blade Storm. No more Cheap Shot and no more Repel Borders. I know you made these changes for like better experience for new players, but like for old players, at least me, I kind of feel like this is unnecessary. This is the first boss fight you face in the game, and it actually gave players a challenge back in the day. But you didn't have to nerf him this hard. If you wanted to nerf Finn, let him keep at least rank 1 of Repel Borders at least, or if possible, let him stay how he is. Maybe just let him keep Cheap Shot, I guess. It doesn't take a companion to get back from bed rest at that part of the story that long, and plus, you have Sergeant Shepherd helping you out as well. But that's my thoughts on that part of the story. Let me know what you guys think about it again in the comments below, but let's continue on and end off Sinbad with part 3. Also, this is when I started to lose it, and I recorded it too. Yippee. So, Sinbad part 3. Let's run through the story real quick. Released in October 2023, we begin where we left off by talking to Mr. Gandry and—
Too late for what?
What happened to Bonnie Ann? So I didn't mention this from part 1 or 2 of Sinbad, but literally nobody on your crew had dialogue. The only dialogue you got was from enemies, Albano, Sinbad, and the end with Mr. Gandry. That's it. But in part 3, we finally have dialogue from our crew, and Bonnie Ann's voice is already sticking out. So the reason why is that Bonnie Ann's voice actor actually retired from voice acting and was not going to come back to reprise her role because, again, she's retired. It does and still kind of throw me off with how thick the accent is compared to the OG. Still, though, it's better than some of the other voice changers later on, and I don't want to act like my voice acting is better than this one, so hey, keep it up. But what's weird though is that they actually acknowledge the voice change and they chalk it up to her getting over a little skyway sinusitis. But I'm going to be jumping forward with this. When it comes to the rest of the voice changes like Ratbeard, Gracie, Contessa, Vadima, Gandry, anybody else you name it, they don't acknowledge them. I don't mean to sound rude at this part, but if you're going to acknowledge one of the voice changes for the characters, either do it for the rest or just don't do it at all for any of them. Back to the story, Gandry tries to tell us about Claw and how he's trying to do the ritual and break the Eye of Liger off of the belt, but not in Raja because it costs too money to go back. But hey, Zol Akmu and all the dino people are, they can do the trick. That area works well. So we head to the catacombs there where Claw and his men are and beat him up for the info. We then find Claw, but uh-oh, the British are here. With me finally decided to record here, we beat up Claw and talk to the lieutenant dog as we are to be detained and brought back to Marleybone to see Mr. Smiley. Before we headed back, I was going to make a joke about how Sinbad says the same line here and again in the Marleybone sewers, but hey, they seem to have fixed that by the time I got to it, so good job, pirate devs. Anyways, we head back to Marleybone and oh shit, I think Mr. Smiley knows about our war crimes. We discuss further in the Glasshouse prison with Mycroft Bones, and yep, they know. El Toro claims it was in an act of true love, and so we can try some bull-on horse action too, why not? Sinbad claims innocence, which fair honestly, he wasn't there for that. And Bonnie tries to throw blame on Catbeard, to which he responds with, again, similar critiques. Either maybe have just a voice actor just do that line, you know, just a little bit of lines as a Catbeard as well, because that'd be kind of whack to just have him do the one line, or just don't do it at all. Just have Bonnie Ann say like, oh, it was Catbeard's idea, and then just keep it going, because you're just stopping the story at that part. Back to it, Mycroft tells us how they have the eye and that Napoleon actually told Claw about the eye, which set these plans in motion. Turns out the eye doesn't really destroy worlds, but that the people will fight over it and it will lead to a big bad civil war. Earlier, Claw went to Caramel, don't worry about it, Pirate probably won't get there or at all, to get the tools to get the eye out of the belt, where Mycroft and Sherlock Bones clash with them. Unfortunately, Sherlock Bones dies by falling off a cliff, and as someone who just finished Marleybone by the time I was writing this script, rest in peace. So now Mycroft wants to use us to laugh at Moriarty's face that his plan failed so he can reveal his other radical plan he has. It doesn't work until we mention Sherlock is dead, where he starts going apeshit mentioning about his plan and that it is too late. Mycroft somehow was able to deduce that the madman that is possibly working to break Moriarty out of prison being Erasmus Wheeler. Mycroft now wants us to go to his deep cover agent Ricky to see where Wheeler could be and give us this map. We ascend into the sewers and Ricky talks to us about something that I couldn't really tell because of the British slang, so I'm gonna assume it was something about beans on toast. What I was able to hear between that talk is that we should go beat up some other foes in a different part of the sewer to find some more info. We do so, and then we hear he's in Basil's Gate, which we then go back to Ricky, and she mentions something about, like, I don't know, Prince Andrew being a bum, but she tells us that Wheeler is in this radical group called the Blue Herrings, which are pretty bad people. She tells us we should go to Basil Gate sewers and find Wheeler and stop him at cost. Don't know if she knows this or not, but we were just in those sewers earlier, then had to walk all the way back here, and now we're walking all the way back to those sewers. I just don't know if she knew that or not. We beat up some more people. Sinbad imitates a blue herring thug.
Wheeler's here alright, and he's got a surprise in store.
Found the door he's locked behind. Beat up some more guys. Open the door. Hey, are you gonna join me? Nope. Oh, you're just gonna try and unlock this 4-person chest. I then enter the dungeon, and here's when I start to lose my shit. We win this fight, and wait, there are still enemies spawning that can pull me even when I'm in this dialogue as I try to read the story. Well, it's time to move then. Now it's time to fight 5 robots, and I only got 2. This should be fun. Round 2, and that's 2 again. I'll have to do this fight once more. Never mind, either that fox or cat was secretly a robot, and now it's time to move again. Thank God it hasn't pulled me. And now listen to me get pissed off. I literally have no fucking... Now you might be wondering why I haven't gone to Skull Island to heal and purchase more mojo potions. Well, that's because I thought if I left, I would not be able to teleport back. The reason why I thought that at the time was when you walk out of the dungeon, like I did back with Claw, you don't have a teleport to go back in. If you teleport it out of the dungeon, you will have a teleport to get back into the dungeon. Because of this, the difficulty was more hard than it should have been, and I wasted crowns as well. But also, why is it like this regarding dungeon teleports? Let's just continue forward, shall we? I can't even fucking...
Ha! Puppets of the decadent aristocracy! You fell into our trap!
Your orders.
Don't kill me either! Oh my god, that's... All good though, as we defeated the dog mastermind and his conjoined twin that we didn't even know about, where he tells us that the way we need to go...
Already! Let's go!
No! No! Oh! I think I died from the explosion. I might, depends. You can't hear me that well because my volume isn't that loud in this recording, but I did say bad word number 11. We press on where I have to fight more golems, but quickly contemplate my life choices that led me to this moment before doing so. Just kidding, as Bonnie Ann takes charge and picks Sinbad's door being the left. We go through the door where... I would have cried if I had to do another...
Wait, where's Wheeler?
I waste crowns healing myself because I'm just such a silly goose and had to defeat 8 golems, and I have to fight 3 enemies at a time. I'm not guaranteed all golems. Thanks to YouTube walkthroughs, I find the door and finally reach Wheeler. Wheeler says something I didn't pay attention to, and he shows me Worker Light, which I begin to compliment. Sounds stupid name. Stupid name, honestly, for a stupid guy that's making stupid golems. I waste more crowns on a henchman, decide to put Bonnie Ann in the squad, a terrible mistake, but it's okay because we still win and now head back to Ricky Lady so we can tell her that there was no more Queen of England. She pats us on the back and we go back to Mycroft, who does the exact same thing, but Scratch tells us something that is going awry and that the eye is open. We reach the eye and we see our parents coming from it, but they don't sound too well as they try to fight for strength to speak to us. Puzzled we may be, but they mention the deceiver, which Scratch puts together that the vision we saw in the Great Machine was a lie and that we were deceived by someone who has some pretty strong mojo. Quickly, we head back to Mr. Gandry to tell him about the disturbance in the underworld, to which he replies he'll reach out to his contacts and that we should stay close. And by close, I mean that's all from him, folks, right now. Hey, let's go to Vadima. She's got a new voice too. But that is the end of Sinbad Part 3 and the Sinbad saga as well. To go over the things I didn't like here, definitely the fights, as I couldn't read the dialogue in fear of getting pulled afterwards like I did before and not having enough health. Still mixed on the voices, but hey, I'll get used to them as it's not anyone's fault here and it wouldn't be cool at all to bash someone for retiring. That's stupid. But I do have 2 final complaints here that really do bring down the experience for me. My first one being the map. There is no map. I shouldn't and really don't want to look up a video to find where a certain dungeon or fight is in that area. I should be able to pull it up on my map, but they do not have one for any of the new areas. It's unnecessary and inconvenient hassle that I must now do. And my other complaint is, I think, bigger than this one. I don't like Sinbad. He was fine in part 2, but I think he overstays his welcome in that beginning dialogue of part 3 when we talk to Gandry. Every interaction with him is either him whining or acting boastful, or him butting heads with El Toro or someone on the crew, and it ending with Bonnie or someone else telling him to shut up, and it feels like it keeps happening over and over again, and it's not funny. It seems like in the dialogue actually, they are trying to add more comedy to it, but when they previously did it, it was handled much better, whereas now it's just kind of forced in there. Hey, please laugh.
Please clap.
On top of that, we already have 2 big ego and boastful companions with El Toro and Hawkules. I don't think we needed a third, or at least written as he is currently. As I was editing this video, I was watching this one guy rank every world from Wizard 101, and as he was talking about Ravenwood and how new Ravenwood is kind of not as good as old Ravenwood, he compared like the humor in that one, the new humor they added, as like Marvel humor, and that got me thinking, yeah, This is what they're doing for Arc 2. It feels like Marvel humor, and it feels like that a lot more going into Tartarus, which I will talk about very, very soon. So now there's going to be a few things that are going to be staying with us as we progress through the story, being the difficulty spike starting to get to its boiling point, a character I'm not truly fond of, and a map being non-existent. But let's end the Sinbad saga on a positive note, being that the way they got us back into this story is not bad. Playing through and even watching that moment where our parents got back to us gave me goosebumps, actually. I'm not kidding. It seems like something's up with our parents and we need to get to the bottom with it. What's more, I'm still hooked in some way. If I were to rank the Sinbad parts, I'd probably say it was like 2, 1, and then 3. Those moments I had when I played part 3 just really brought it down for me. But now we actually move on to Tartarus, where it's actually going to give us a new area look to where it's not just like catacombs or sewers or Mushu Tower finally. So Tartarus, it's a bit rough. We continue where we left off, where Vadima confirms what Scratch told us, that the vision of our parents in the Great Machine was a lie, and that we must travel to Tartarus, the land of death. My first nitpick, of course, is when Sinbad pretty much says one of those little corny ass lines you see in a movie where he's like, did she really tell us to go to HE double hockey sticks? Ooh, I didn't like that. Now I'm gonna wait for him later on to say in the story when he's finding like an enemy or like we're trying to look for someone, and he's like, it's right behind me, isn't it? Oh. Hawkules knows how we can go to Tartarus, but in order to do so, we need a guide. We seek out Orpheus, and he starts saying, whoa, which Contessa takes offense to, which had me confused, I want to say.
We Valencians find the word, whoa, offensive.
So the reason why the word whoa is offensive to Valencians is because it's a way to tell horses to stop. Clever, but cleverness does not stop cringe. And also, he wasted 5 minutes of my time because I actually looked up if whoa was a slur to Italians. Anyways, Hawkules tells us that he's just down in the dumps because his lady friend is dead and some time will cheer him up. Look at this guy go. He's like, wee, wee.
I'd hoped not. Let's get him!
Oh hey, Ratbeard, Captain Ratbeard, Rat Officer. So this is Ratbeard's voice, and officially we have now heard so far every new voice change for the characters. We are missing Gracie's, which will be in Croc when we'll hear it, but I'll talk about my thoughts on them here now. Of course, I like the OGs better, but that's no offense to the new voice actors, as part of it has to do with nostalgia and it just being so used to hearing these voices for almost a whole journey. I do like Mr. Gandry's new voice, same with Scratch as well. Bonnie Ann and Ratbeard's voice I didn't like at first, but I can at least get used to it. Vadima, I personally think her voice is slurring too much and would have liked it if it was more subtle with the delivery instead of like woo vibes. Gracie has lost her British accent, by the way, and just has a regular American accent. I don't know why they didn't tell them to just try it out with an accent, but hopefully they do it for later updates. And Contessa, yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Do not like it. The accent is just too much now. In the line of End of Croc, I try to skip past it as fast as I can. I just do not like how it sounds. There was one character that also had a voice change that I kind of glossed over due to it just being relevant for one moment in this story, and then we'll probably never see him again. And I thought I fixed it in this editing by actually acknowledging it. And I also think it's an underrated, if not one of the greater voice changes we have in this little group. I actually like Meowyardi's. If it was between the OG and this one, I definitely go for the OG, but it's just with the voice actor's performance on how Meowyardi heard about Sherlock Bones' death and how he loses his mind because of it. I really liked it. Apart from that one moment, he was still doing a good job as well. So hopefully in the future, if they ever do bring Meowyardi back, I would definitely like to hear this voice actor again. KingsIsle or Pirate Team, if you're listening to this, keep that voice actor. Thank you. Okay, where are we again? Oh, okay, yeah. So we gotta get the time so we can stop his woes, and then he tells us because we are still alive, we need the ferryman to Tartarus, Charon, to take us there, and we need to take a horn to summon him from a troll. I had to do this fight twice because I needed to be near the dungeon to trigger the part where I can access it by the sigils, but instead I actually teleported to someone who is already in it. After this troll hits me with the bro moment out of nowhere, knock it off with this dialogue, KingsIsle. But now that we have the horn to call Charon, we just need payment in the form summon an oboe. We kindly take it from this dead guy, take the oboe to the statue of Hades, and well, he doesn't like what Hawkules did to his hound, so that plan failed. I don't know why we needed to go talk to Hades. We go back to Orpheus, who tells us that we need a different guide because he'll just woe all over the place. We pick up Virgil or Virgil, something like that, after getting some stuff to write a sick poem for him, and now head to Delphos to summon Charon. At first he says, "Nuh-uh, I don't want no living guy to hire my boat," but Scratch was like, "Yeah-huh, I'll hire it," which Charon was like, "Darn, fine then." So we hop on the boat, we hop on the boat. Dude, come on now. Oh, there we go. We hop on the boat and reach Tartarus. We approach the gate of Hades and then talk to the ghost of Achilles, aka our first bug of Tartarus. So what should happen is that Achilles would be here and you would have an epic fight as he wants revenge. Thing is, he's not here. To fix this, you just walk into the room behind Achilles and walk out. But it seems like we're going to be doing this part with ourselves unless that other player actually did this part already. Don't really have a good explanation to why it's like this, so we fight and oh my god, he has 6,000 health. So into my recording, I started this fight at 1 hour, 38 minutes and 25 seconds and didn't finish this fight until 2 hours, 8 minutes and 36 seconds. A full 40 minutes because I lost fight 1 due to a miss, and then the enemy can do an attack where it will allow them to go invisible. All of them have this, by the way, except for Achilles, and I missed an attack that would have been the final blow, but instead they 2v3'd me in one go. Fight 2 I got my ass kicked, and then fight 3 I had a good start, but then I still had to come down to where it was just me who somehow managed to stay at full health during this, 2 doubloon companions, and the last guy just giving up. I wish I was kidding, but he literally did not attack, a thing that some enemies, not all, still do. It's been like that since the old Scratch Obsidian Key dungeon, by the way, so you know. 40 minutes right there. If this wasn't during December where membership was given to everybody, and also at the same time Miracle Mitch was free, I probably would have been annoyed and probably would not have been doing this right now. I'd also be broken gold, by the way. I would just be spending all my gold. And I know I really didn't discuss Miracle Mitch, but wow. This guy's a ripoff. To revive a companion at level 70, these are the 3 ranks of how much it would cost to revive him from bed rest. And then this will be the price if all 3 of my level 70 companions were hurt. The gold cap, by the way, is currently at 250,000 gold. So, in summary, again, this guy's a ripoff. After Achilles, we run into the sister Medusa. We don't have any gold apples to do the same stunt we did earlier, so we just had to fake it, which she believes, I guess. We do her test, run into Hades' dog Serapis, which Hawkules deals with because the dog is actually a good boy. Hades is not too happy with living people have shown up, but gets even more grumpier when he realizes we are the people from earlier with Hawkules, so we gotta deal with his guards. Definitely didn't lose after this turn, by the way, and had to fight him all over again. Totally didn't have to do that. After we won it first try, Hades starts attacking our souls until our good pal Death pops in to save us. We go to his room and what the fuck is up with these lights?
These
I hate this
worlds
room.
are for the living.
I hate
Those
this.
worlds.
Dude,
Now look where we are.
I do not like looking at this room at all. I do not like looking at it. Just the lights flickering sucks. Anyways, Death isn't too happy about all the living people coming in and out of Tartarus, but he knows the situation we're dealing with right now. Death actually allowed our parents to talk to us, but now he can't find them as well because someone is messing with Death himself. Seems like the person messing with Death is a necromancer using death magic. Oh boy. He needs us and our mojo from Old Scratch, who's stripped in excitement I guess, to break the totems as they won't detect it as much if Death was doing it. In return, he'll help us find our parents. Guess what? The totems are doing the same thing that happened with Achilles earlier. What to do, what to do. What am I supposed to do? You know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna go see if I can... Are you fucking kidding me? You know what? Thank God. There is no God. In this situation, I had actually switched areas and hey, there's the totem I needed. Beat up some satyrs, have a wacky time entering a dungeon. I just walked through it instead. How about that? And I'll do it again. Maybe a 3rd time. I'm not getting enough of this. My stomach is growling. Okay. We fight the final boss being Electo, who reveals the necromancer created her and that she's mortal and pretty strong. Theseus is down here too, by the way, because him and his friend were trying to steal Persephone from Hades, but that didn't work out too well. We give Death the 6 totems, and after analyzing them, he deduces that the necromancer wizard is in Krakatopia. Before we leave Tartarus, we gotta do the thing we promised Orpheus, place down the time, and now we're back in Vadima's Sanctum, and to set our sights on Krakatopia. So, there are some things that I like, some things that I don't like, and there's some things that I don't really know how to feel about. Things I liked the story, as it felt like a fresh breath of air from the Sinbad trilogy. It was also nice to see Death again, as he is a fun character to interact with, and even with what I'll say in a bit, the area looks nice and is a nice change of scenery. Things I don't like: some of the dialogue I'm not much of a fan of, and also the bugs of having to do something to trigger what is actually supposed to happen is not something I like to do either. One thing I found odd is the inability to leave a port in Tartarus. Once I walked into that room with Medusa's sister, I could no longer leave a port in Tartarus. I could before, but now I can't. And because I didn't keep one on Delphus, but had to revive my companions, what I had to do was teleport back to Skull Island to revive my companions because it was free, go to the transporter as well, which thankfully had gold, not crowns to pay, sail back to Delphos, leave a port by the boat, then repeat what I had to do in Tartarus. I don't know about you, but that's not fun gameplay. On top of that, taking 40 minutes for me to win this fight is not fun gameplay either. Achilles has rank 5 epic talents, whereas his allies have 2 rank 3 and rank 2 epic talents, and the attack, Cloak and Dagger, an ability again that can make you bleed and turn the enemy invisible for 4 turns. How is this fun or fair for me to have to take many attacks to defeat one enemy, whereas the enemies can defeat my guys in like 3 hits? While their area does look nice, there are some visual looks that turn me away, like Death's Room and Rapier and Old Scratch looking like the first stage appearance. Gotta mention that here now. Also, this pull right here was insane. I don't know if they increased the radius on when an enemy can pull you, because I don't remember it being this wide of a range. But on my last note, being the one that I don't know how I feel about it, is the reusing of assets. Tartarus is pretty much a copy and paste of Tartarus from Wizard. If it saves money, then in that case I don't have that much of a problem with it, as they can use that money for the next update and it keeps both worlds connected as well. But not only that, but it's not a new world or Skyray really, as we know of from Monquista through Valencia Part 2, but in this case it works because Tartarus was never its own world. It was a part of Aquila and you just had to teleport there from Aquila. What I'm trying to say is that it makes sense here. In conclusion, there are a few things that I do like here, but they are still emphasizing some things that I really don't like, one of those being that the difficulty spike is getting out of hand. One thing I forgot to mention is that Tartarus was released in April 2024, 6 months after the end of the Sinbad saga, whereas Crocotopia was released 5 months after Tartarus, in September 2024. These are the quickest we've gotten updates to the story since Sinbad dropped, by the way. And this probably isn't too fair to Crocotopia, but if I was to put all of them in one group and say which one's the best and which one's the worst, just not looking at how short they are or how long they are, and just from what I've experienced, Crocotopia is the worst.
There was so many bugs in this update.
The door closed or something?
Chillin', playing the update. I just wish this part was better. This is my first complaint so far. I think it's my first. I hope it's my first.
I know Slade got stuck there. I saw his video on this.
I'm never gonna be able to finish this, dude.
Can they just make one thing right? I don't understand.
Pirate101's camera angles, like when you're in battle, there's certain camera angles.
Nice zoom angle, man. Nice.
Stupid Queen of Battles. She is probably the lamest fight in this game ever. The lamest boss fight ever. She's just a reused asset battle angel who says that she's cooler, better than Queen, and then you kill her in like 2 turns. You don't have much room, so now you have to worry about getting pulled.
I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get all the way through the test realm. I've tried pretty much everything to get this thing to spawn. Some people were able to get it. I don't have the time to sit here and try 80,000 different ways or wait until 4 a.m. when I can do it.
It's just not fun, I guess. This world faced major criticism during its test run, as there were multiple moments of roadblocks in the progression of the game. The first instance was freeing Amanda from a cage, but the coding was incorrect to only where one person was able to open it. Because of this, no one was able to continue once at least one player opened up that cage, and it would not reset back to the normal for others. The second instance of a roadblock was entering a dungeon to defeat a guardian scarab that had a similar situation with the Mander cage, where it would only let one player do the fight and everyone else was screwed. The third and seemingly final roadblock was with the Draconian Swashbuckler doing exactly what the Scarab was bugging out with. All of these roadblocks took several days each for test run players, but it's moments like these where it can really sour the experience for people playing throughout that area during the test run build. And for someone that was just watching it, it didn't really want me to play that area that much. I didn't watch this and be like, oh, I'm so hyped to play Crocotopia anymore. I'm watching this and I'm just like, I'll pass. Not only that, but I didn't want to play it because I didn't want to pay for it. Like I said, the Sinbad saga is free, whereas Tartarus and Crocotopia, you do have to pay to play that part of the game. And because of that, you bet I'm going to be a bit more critical when it comes to Krokotopia compared to Sinbad. But to get my opinion and thoughts of what I thought about Krokotopia, I still needed to play Krokotopia myself. And I will say, it wasn't as bad from what I saw during Test Realm, but it's still not that good. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Krokotopia after playing it, and I did actually manage to encounter a bug I had during my playthrough of it. So I get sent by Burnham Bay to rescue some Manders. I reach the room and walk right in when someone just finished beating the Armada troops. That's okay. I'll wait for them to respond, I foolishly told myself, but they never would. The only way they did was to leave Krokotopia, switch realms because I couldn't in Croc, and then boom, I can now do the fight. But the craziest part is, after the fight was over, someone else showed up and they respawn. Why is this just not like a one fight dungeon? They've done it before and we're not coming back to this room, so why not? On top of that, I don't think Zigzag was meant for the pirate world. Why do I say that again? Well, it's because it's an import from Wizard 101 during the Zigzag dungeon, whatever the fuck this was. The only difference is that they switched it from nighttime to daytime, and it does not look good. Why is it so bright? And it feels so congested in this area. There were some spots where there are respawning enemies, and if you don't pass them at the right exact moment, you will get pulled. Then you have the camera angles in those congested spots, which, wow, 10 out of 10 gameplay, am I right? Then comes the enemies with the Armada attacking. Why? Well, because of the Marleybonians, but when Kane was defeated, they decided to collect the supplies, but Bellatrix, more on her later, said they're disrupting the supply line by doing this, I guess. And now the Draconians are here, and the pyramid creatures and guardians, oh no. We also run into that issue I'm having where the difficulty is becoming way too much, especially with the Draconians having a new epic talent follow through, which seems like to be relentless, but now you can hit other enemies instead of focusing on one, and it's guaranteed to happen. Also, respectfully, sneaky. Hate that ability. Hate fighting against it. I also had some confusion in the beginning, but when did like Bonnie Ann and Calico Jake hate each other? Like, I went to go watch back the promotion for Bonnie Ann where Calico Jake showed up, and they seemed like old chums getting back to reuniting with each other, and now they hate each other. Did I miss something? Still not a fan of Contessa's voice, by the way.
Sadly, Baruti's barriers did not stop the Draconians from coming and going and will. What do we do now?
But now I must get into the inclusion of two new enemies in this part of Krokotopia. But let's start with the aforementioned first. In the end of Valencia Part 2, they hinted the Queen will be coming back. And progressing the story, I thought maybe they showed the Queen. She wasn't in the ship, but that's okay. She might be in the tent where Calico Jake's cotton he wanted is. Well, let's go into that tent and who the hell are you? This is Bellatrix, Queen of Battles. Gotcha! You see what they did there? You see what they did? They didn't mean Queen. They meant Queen of Battles, Bellatrix. They got you. You thought it was actually a real queen, you silly goose. Yes, you did. I know you did. She plans to trap us in the tent and kill us with the deadly fumes spreading into the tent. Quick question though. Is anyone guarding the outside of the tent, or at least the perimeters of the tent inside? Because what if I just decide to walk back out, or just walk from the side, you know? Just curious, but after defeating Bellatrix, I'm going to assume that will be the last we see of her, because there is no way we let her escape, and that was just to serve as a tease. She was meant to entertain. Clearly, we aren't talking about the same queen as the one I know likes to entertain with some ass whooping. I just find this part in the story odd, and just that the team was finding a way to end the Armada and Croc so they can focus on the Draconians and our new main antagonist for the story. Meet Oksana. I'm not really sold on Oksana. At the last fight of the final dungeon and of Croc, we finally run into Oksana, a wizard from Dragonspire, the one responsible for the current situation regarding our parents. We unfortunately can't take her out at the moment, risking the eternal torment for our parents, but tells us her reason for wanting to go to El Dorado, being that there are masters which have powers that can teach her what she needs for ultimate power over the spiral and to dethrone Death himself. And it seems like Croc was the best place to communicate and learn those powers on how to reach them. She goes on to say she was a part of this race too, and she was lurking in the shadows, the this whole time. Also, the distraction helped Oksana learn all she needs to reach El Dorado too, by the way. That's great to know. So what I learned from this talk with her is that there is a third main player in the race to El Dorado and was responsible for us abandoning our quest. She knows how to reach El Dorado and is going there to seek out the masters in the abandoned city with hostile golden sentinels to achieve unlimited power. And our new main antagonist is a wizard necromancer, and we're just kind of fucked. I'm not gonna lie. This sounds a little bit overkill. We don't know how to get there, let alone have the pieces to the map, and I don't know how I really feel about Oksana being our main antagonist. Butting in again to talk more about Oksana. When it came to me discussing this character, I first said I don't know how to feel about them, and I didn't like the approach they were taking with the character, to then later on in part 2 saying that it's not the worst thing, and people just need to give it a chance, and well, frankly, I'm tired of sitting on this fence. My final thoughts are that she is not a good main villain to have after what was there before. Oksana is definitely a let it cook villain. You gotta give it some time and an opportunity because all we've gotten of her was at the end of Crocotopia and anything that might be mentioned going forward into the next update. While that is true, I hate to break it to the chef, the restaurant is empty. It doesn't seem like anybody wants what's being cooked here. I'm just gonna say it now, spoilers for later on in part 2, she doesn't show up in the next big update. She just mentioned. That's it. Her introduction feels like that one kid you had as a friend when you guys would play pretend on the playground and they would make themselves the best at everything because they said so. The last thing we need, not just in general, but in the Spiral, in this game's universe, is another main antagonist that their main ultimate goal is to get unlimited power or to control the Spiral or whatever. If you're gonna have specifically a death necromancer be the main antagonist for this story, just have Morganth again at this point, you know, really make it intertwined with wizard and pirate. Probably have her go on some Darth Maul type story where she survived somehow. Now she looks like a half spider hybrid, you know, and she's going to El Dorado because that can help her get back to her true form or something like that. She doesn't even care about taking over the Spiral or reshaping it or whatever. She's going specifically at the wizard, and the pirate reminds her of the wizard. Cain at least did feel a bit different. He was going to El Dorado because a piece of him originates there and thinks he's imperfect due to him being made by man. So he wants to go there to first become perfect, then go from there, whatever he might do. Do I want Oksana to be the main villain? No. Do I believe they're going to make her part of this group of villains instead? Yes, they actually do. Though in the defense of Oksana, some people need to really chill out with their hatred of this character. I know I just dogged on her for a little bit, but some people kind of tick it up a notch to where it feels like they just have a hate boner for this character. To quickly wrap up the story, after you defeat the last of her minions, or go around them, they won't pull you can just skip that fight. You break the portal, set off a flare for Calico Jake to save you, escape Crocotopia, feeling defeated, with Bonnie Ann having an idea of what to do next. And that is the end of Crocotopia. There's still more to talk about here in part 1 with past me, so let's go back to him briefly and see what I had to say here next. I don't know if this has to deal with the new company that now controls KingsIsle, giving the pirate team stricter and stricter deadlines maybe, but this plan of rushing out the updates is not working for it. To remind you, 6 months after the end of Sinbad, Tartarus came out and had, and still does have, bugs, and isn't quite as polished, but was able to be played through in Test Realm. Croc came out 5 months after Tartarus, but faced more criticism due to the look of Zigzag, the multiple roadblocks in Test Realm, and the questionable new antagonists. And you couldn't play through Test Realm and complete it for the first time through. I know I wanted the updates to come out at least somewhat more frequently or on a consistent basis instead of like waiting 3 to 5 years for it, but after this, I'm content with waiting. I rather have quality updates instead of huge quantities of updates being rushed out. But there is still one more update I want to talk about. Folks, let's talk about the Hawk. In November 2024, we got an update to Tartarus actually, being an Obsidian Key boss dungeon where you have to fight this guy known as General Politicos. Only one guy, by the way, but if you don't hit him, he will spawn more enemies. They will be at lower health, but they do have ways to make it a big problem. I will say though, this dungeon is fun, and I do like the concept of this cheat. Now that you defeated him, it's all over, and you think that you can now promote Hawkules, right? Wait, you're telling me you didn't receive the Doom Laurel, which has a very rare chance of dropping? Forgot to mention this, but this links with Hawkules' new promotion. That's okay, let's just try again. What's that now? You ran out of Obsidian Keys and need more? Just go to Aquila in the new Valencia dungeon and that Crocagator fight in Marleybone to get some more. Good luck! And then you can just do it all over again. And 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 again. Fuck! I bought the Doom Laurel from the Crown Shop. But the biggest kicker out of this is actually when you go and promote Hawkules and you actually get the Doom Laurel. So what happens is that you go to a tavern, talk to Hawkules. He said we need to go to the ancient tunnels in Skull Island. You go into this little tomb with this Crocotopian guy. He says, hey, Hades isn't too happy with you right now. And then Hades comes in, but he's like, hey, if you like beat this guy up for me and then get the Doom Laurel from him, I can then torment him for the rest of my lives and keep him in Tartarus. So can you do that for me? And we're like, oh, we already have that. And he's like, here you go. We cool now? And then Hades is like, oh yeah, we're cool now. And then we go back to the tavern and then boom, we promote him. That's the end of it. That's the end of it. That feels like a kick in the dick. Maybe 2 kicks in the dick. This is just an unhealthy way of stretching out gameplay by having something short be bigger than it is actually. I hope they don't do this with other companions going forward and maybe work around making it better for players like me or players that just don't want to spend copious amounts of hours that will never know the odds of its drop rates. I know that's something that MMOs don't really do by revealing drop rates, but hopefully they can find an in-between soon. Oh, I gotta mention Plunder Hunt. Pirate101 Plunder Hunt, aka those shitty mobile games you see ads for on YouTube videos or Instagram Reels, but with the code of Pirate101 painted on it. They took Bonnie Ann and my guy Kobe and painted them blue while also changing their names along with Catbeard. Who's Catbeard? I think he meant Witty Whiskers or whatever they had it as. The companions suck. They don't even do shit or contribute enough. Fuck the microtransactions. Fuck the ads in this game shoving it in your face. Fuck Blue Kobe, cause that's not the one I know and love. Best part of the game was the ragdoll effect the enemies do. The app was released in late October 2023 and was shut down at the end of January 2024. What a waste of money and time, guys. I know this wasn't developed by KingsIsle, but still. Can we stop focusing our attention on mobile games now? Cause this ain't working. But also, buff Nanu, baby. We want buff Nanu. I want to give him so buff Nanu in the so much right now. Make him a little more busted. Please. And there we have the end of part 1, as we've sort of made to the halfway point of this video, and now moving on to part 2. I don't know how to transition from part 1 to 2, which is why I'm here, but I just want to say that I'm going to be talking about something important that I didn't mention in part 1 because I didn't know about it and I didn't know how big of an effect this would have on the game. So we're gonna go from here. Don't worry, it was mentioned in part 2 if anybody was wondering. But hey, if you like what you've seen so far, please like, sub, follow me on all my other social media platforms too. That'd be nice. But once more, take it away past me. Now the first one I have to mention is one that I have to start off by showing you this picture. Now most people might be in total confusion on what I am showing you right now, but don't worry, just sit down, get ready with the clip notes when we gotta go back to November. On November 13th, 2024, a longtime KingsIsle employee known as Hawkules, or Chris for simplicity, tweeted out that he has just been fired. In the tweet he says, I got fired for not doing my job. Simple. I was given notice, a fair chance, and I didn't do the work. That's the whole story on that. Then immediately in the next sentence starts going off on the lead community manager for both games, who is known by Bat Masterson, Sparks, or Matthew for simplicity as well. To summarize what Chris goes on to say about Matthew is that not only was he bad at his job, but incompetent to a point where he did not know how to play any of the games, which is highlighted in stream playthroughs, and he would allegedly argue about needing to play the game or not. Can't use Discord, social media, admin tools, or basic office software to save his life. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not tech savvy myself, but when it comes to your job, you need to know the basics at least. But what were the most alarming tweets from Chris was when he says that he invited a coworker Stalker to interview devs and lied about being ignorant to the situation. And when Chris, a former community manager of Wizard, confronted Matthew about it, he then went on a rant about, and I quote, the whole Blizzard sexual misconduct issues were blown way out of proportion. Another thing was that Matthew confronted Chris's dad at a Renaissance festival and tried to get Chris's dad to quote unquote have a talk with him about his attitude. So a lot of red flags here that came from the game's lead community manager, but from what it sounds like from Chris's tweets, it doesn't seem like it's KingsIsle's fault, and it's just a really bad apple that's amongst the team. Overnight, the community was outraged, and players would protest this by going to Avery's Court, the main hub world of Pirate, showcasing their Hawkules companions. A few days after that, by the way, in some sort of odd coincidence, the Hawkules dungeon in Tartarus would then drop. Shortly afterwards, don't know when, Matthew was either fired or resigned from his spot. Either way, he's gone now. From what I heard, the person that's currently taking up the void as the lead community manager has been doing a good job at it by also listening to people's feedback and just talking to the community. That's the situation summed up, but I'll also link some videos in the description below you can watch, and also this goof video, because why not? The second mention is going to be very quick, but if you're in Crocotopia and you don't want to be blind no more, go into settings, turn off bloom active, boom, you're no longer blind. February 2025 came with a patch note that mentioned stuff like buffing the bear companions and increasing the drop rate of the Doom Laurel. But one section they patched was in regards to the Sinbad trilogy, where they added team-ups for parts 1 and 2 while also nerfing and increasing the weapon drops for part 2. For part 3, they fixed the dungeon recall, but what annoys me is that that's all they did for part 3. As I mentioned earlier, part 3 is not a fun experience to do solo, and even the times that I did go through it with groups, it was easier, but still not fun. They didn't even put a team up for the last dungeon in Marleybone. One last annoying part of the trilogy was that they made their dungeons a gauntlet, meaning that you can't teleport into them. So say you're at the last fight of the dungeon and you're about to die and your buddy is coming in to save the day. Well, he can't. So your options are either to go pay to win, or just go flee and then recall back in, or just do the whole dungeon over again, which is lame. And that's all the catch up since then. But I have been keeping my eye on the game just to see if there's any patch notes or minor updates to be released during the build up for the major summer update. There are a few things to discuss here, as literally 5 days after I released the video, there's an update. So at the end of completing Crocotopia and Bonnie Ann's final line read, you hear this little music play.
I have an idea.
Once Crocotopia was over, players began to speculate on what the next update could be, and the most speculation came to that music at the end, and players thinking, hey, we might be going to Mirage in Pirate101. But honestly, it's an odd choice just to have that be the next world if it was. You go from sand to, more sand. Still, it is cool to be possibly seeing this in our next update, being another world from Wizard now coming to Pirate, being hopefully Mirage. You know, maybe we'll get some like cool like grab and go type of stealth thing, you know, where we're running from bandits and just like escape. What do you mean it's a bundle? February 26, 2024 comes with the release of the trailer for the Agrabah Job Gauntlet bundle, aka Pirate's first swing at paid DLC content that isn't just a companion and insert item here. So it starts off with you just managing to get your hands on this magic lamp. How? That's not important. Moving on. So you have this magic lamp which transport you inside of the lamp to this genie named Downard. He tells us in our Presidio companion, he's here too by the way, about how our dad was also a famous pirate and was hired to rob a warehouse in Mirage by the genie's master. After a fierce battle, Downard heard our father say, oh, let me get into like a little like pirate accent.
I'm a famous pirate. Zoinks. I wish me dear kid could see this. Up and away, I could fly. Wah.
Okay, I might have exaggerated that as well, but you get the point too. Yeah, he's dead. Those words stuck to him and have granted that wish here and now, even though I don't think that's how genies work, but okay. So now he takes us to that day in like a little pocket dimension without it being a what if, or God forbid a multiverse. He replaces our dad with us in a scenario to reenact that fateful day and learn about so many other things and wait, hold on. Is that in the script? Huh. Oh, that's it. What happened with my shirt? First thing, as you can tell from my voice telling you the plot, I'm not a fan of it. It feels uninteresting, confusing at first, and because it's behind a bigger paywall, a nothing burger to me. Out of all the storylines, this to me is the weakest. And again, it's a part of a bundle, meaning you're gonna need to pay money to do this gauntlet, have a friend pay for it, or make an hour-and-a-half video on this game and ask if he can run through it while also dangling around the possibility like loud rattling set of keys that you'll make a video talking about this. If you were to buy the bundle, you get the gauntlet, which contains 4 fights in total, $10 back, 5,000 crowns, then this beefed up snake. His name's Monty. From what I've seen and heard of Monty, you either think he's alright or you think he's solid. Heavy skills is a pretty cool ability though. Oh yeah, the price. Yeah, it costs $40 USD. At face value, you may look at it and compare it to other bundles and feel iffy about it. But wait, there's more! Because this was a bundle, there were no test ROMs to see if there were any bugs, and bugs there were. Players of having a chance of not receiving the companion after buying the bundle, and sometimes a soft lock where you encounter dialogue causing you to redo it from the beginning. This one I actually encountered while I was a guest on the stream. In the beginning too, there was also a cooldown for when you can do the gauntlet again. How long, you might ask? 20 hours. I don't know who thought it should be that long or a thing at all, but don't worry, they got rid of that. And then there were the drop rates for this gauntlet. Almost as bad as the Doom Laurel. You want the new gear and mounts? Yeah, best I can do is long crate. Worst part is that you only get the gear, weapons, pets, and mounts in the last fight. Maybe you can get a mount or the pet in like a second fight or so, but the camel better know how to do a kickflip or wheels on the bottom of the boots if it's going to be that rare of a drop. On a positive note for this gauntlet, I thought it was fun to go through. A good challenge for people when they're doing it in a group where it's not just a cakewalk, and I'm not subjecting myself to doing that solo. You're funny. But unfortunately with this gauntlet, it's the same story as the Hawkules dungeon. It's fun the first few times, but it loses that fun factor when the drops aren't dropping, especially when you just get gold. My last note on this too is that there were some moments in the dialogue that just kind of felt awkward when they were delivered.
We're in trouble! Help!
You called?
Kill these!
With pleasure.
To answer the question though, is it worth playing through? Yeah, I think so, but I just recommend doing it once or twice and then that's it. Is it worth buying though? No. God no. The Beekeeper bundle is a better value for your money than the Gauntlet bundle. Not just because it's $10 cheaper and you get this nice Beekeeper outfit, but you get a Bumbaloon companion named Barry. Get it? Barry B. Benson from the hit DreamWorks movie The Bee Movie, voiced by Jerry Seinfeld. I rest my case. Back on topic, my last thing I want to say is that what's the point of the music playing in the background if it's not going to lead to Mirage, or just Mirage just being this gauntlet? So yeah, that's the gauntlet. A bit of a disappointment and just a hard pass if you're looking to buy it. During everyone voicing their issues with the gauntlet's glitches, the status of the Pirates team was brought into question, with the marketing leader Fan Flanders responded to a comment on how there's only been 2 decently sized updates since 2014, saying the dev team is currently made up of 1 full-time dev, 1 part-time dev, they work on Wizard 2, 1 person on the product team, and 1 producer. All resources are shared. They all care, their resources are just limited. My initial reaction to this was that you don't just share this type of information, as it can lower the morale players might have for the game with the state it is currently in, but on the bright side, they do care, so there's that. I mean, that's good though, actually, like, honest to God. Hearing this though, it does make me feel bad for the people working on this game, as when you hear this, most players will go and look at it and say, yeah, that makes sense, as it just seems like this game is heading more and more to being pronounced a dead game. When it came to working on this next video, I didn't think it was going to head in this type of direction at this current point of the video. And again, I don't hate the game. I like it a lot and have fond memories when I played it as a kid and only want for it to succeed. Moving on to the next month of April 2025 brought us some slight changes that honestly kind of feel like putting band-aids over scars from the past. Let's get this one out of the way real quick. They increased the drop rates for the Agrabah Gauntlet. Hallelujah. Personally, I love the energy they had for writing this note versus the one from last month. From last month, it sounded like, oh yeah, we hear you guys and we got this for you guys, though it sounds like they totally missed the mark. Whereas this one felt more like, fine, take it. Happy? And with the gauntlet as well, they also fixed that soft lock with the dialogue that I mentioned earlier. It also brings us to a new section of this show for the first and last time here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to welcome you to That Was a Thing! In this part of the episode, we're going to be talking over some of the minor changes they had in this patch note, looking at them and just say, wow, so that was a thing! Think of it as America's Funniest Home Videos of ridiculousness, but instead of that, it's just one guy that looks like Napoleon Dynamite talking about Pirate101. First one here takes us all the way to the world of Aquila on the island of Troy, where captains should no longer drunkenly dock their ships inside the island. Wow, so that was a thing! Next one takes us to the land of the underworld in Tartarus, where after 5 months later, players shall finally teleport to the life fountain instead of the incorrect spot they've been teleporting to. Wow, so that was a thing! Our third and final one here takes us to the British land of the Bulldogs in Marleybone, where, on Wheeler's Lair, the 4th player shall no longer be teleported to a different random instance. Say it with me last time, folks, loud and proud. One more time. Wow! So that was a thing! Thank you all for tuning into this part of the episode, and until never again, that was a thing! I'm gonna put this down, there's like hair on it. Back to it though, there are some things I want to hark on, being the fixes with Tartarus and just it as a whole. It is nice to see that they finally put the life fountain port by the life fountain, but now, I think more than ever, it's starting to show more bugs that are in Tartarus that are either existing ones or possibly new ones that came from these 2 patch notes. Achilles during the Aquila part of the story before he is killed in Battle of Troy is named Shade Achilles instead of just, well, Achilles. And after you are fully done with that part of the story, Achilles is still chilling in the tent that's by Troy. At Delphus, there's a spot by the brazier where you can click and play the Charon horn. Thankfully it doesn't summon him and give early access to Tartarus, because I think people would have been more aware about that. When you interact with the skiff to teleport to Tartarus, I swear you have to click on it at least twice just to teleport there. The Shade Achilles fight seems to be a shared instance type of thing, maybe? I don't even know at this point, as that issue I mentioned in the previous video of his squad not showing up unless I go through the door behind him and come out is still present. Another way to fix this is to switch realms or just already be in Tartarus when you boot up the game, but it's dumb to just have to do something like that in the first place. You cannot teleport the players still in Tartarus, as I recently found out when questing through with a group, nor can you teleport inside a dungeon as it acts like a gauntlet as well. So if you're questing with other people in Tartarus like I did as recently as August, you have to ask here and there if you're in the right zone or area sometimes, which shouldn't be happening as much as it did for us at all. And it didn't include this in the notes either, but the fast travel in Aquila never had a spot for Lystragon until recently. This isn't the docks though. Closing off though, it is nice to see that they did go back in some spots and either reduce the difficulty or just fix a thing here and there, but it seems like more noticeable bugs and glitches are starting to appear, and it just fuels the criticism for this arc being rushed. Like, it's becoming more and more noticeable, and it's going to be a turnoff for players getting to this part of the story for the first time. What I'm trying to say here is that stuff's going to be in the Chupo video and it's too late to go back and fix it. And that's all the patch notes, meaning from April to July, players are now just waiting for more info to drop on the update and for Test Realm to finally release. We are now closing in on the part of the video that most people clicked on here for, being the major summer update. But first, let's talk about the rumors. We shall start at the lowest point of the hype to where it started to slowly and surprisingly get people to have expectations other than just it functioning. So first news I got of any rumors of the new update was from a video published by Just Fang on February 14th discussing treats from the Abandonment showcasing data mined weapons and character models, most notably models from Valencia hitting at a possible return to that world since the defeat of Cain. Fast forward now to April 10th with Just Fang, I don't have Twitter, I'm not downloading that, okay, discussing new tweets from the Adamplexx where they showcase interactable doors from Valencia intended for an island called Trianon. In short summary of those 2 videos, yeah, it seems like we're going back to Valencia. My initial reaction to this news, and even when it was edging close to Test Realm, is that I was a bit underwhelmed. We're going back to Valencia for the 3rd time, and this one's gonna be another major update to the game. I was kind of hoping it'd be something different that we haven't seen before that is in a, well, better condition than this. It's cool going back to this area, but I don't want to just get sick and tired or just bored from having to go back to it a 3rd time. But at that time, I didn't know how the story was actually going to go and what they were going to do, so I just had to wait. May 29th brought us a notification on the Pirate Discord server of a KI Live happening soon. Wow, a random KI Live. I wonder if anything in the stream, they'll mention anything about the update with how close it's approaching.
Drumroll, level cap increase. Once again, level cap increase confirmed for the summer update.
What? Folks, this is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. But after 9 years, Pirate101 is finally getting another level cap increase. Stop what you're doing. Spread the word. Peter Griffin, where are you going? Look back at the billboard. The level cap is increased. Head back home and tell the family. Take your mom. Take your god. Go find a dog and tell them they're a good boy or girl. Drinks on me, boys. Let's fucking go. That's literally how the whole day consisted of. But yeah, they finally decided to increase the level cap after 9 years. That level cap will be increased from 70 to 75 and not something like 80. With this news, you now got some fans a bit forward to what the new update might have in store. After that, that is when the announcements and teasers started to pour on in. June 13th gave us a little teaser to one of the new characters for Valencia Part 3 being this badass looking guinea pig. June 17th gave us a teaser of XP being rewarded to someone who is at the current max level of 70. June 25th through the 30th had KingsIsle hit up creators to discuss a new spell power for each class. The ones that stood out the most was the Witch Doctor spell Mojo Javelin and the Musketeer power I'll just say blow up. July 7th gave us teaser audio from the voice actress of Queen, and as someone who has been critical on the voice acting recently, hearing this clip got me in good hopes to hear more of Queen's voice acting in the game. Then finally on July 3rd, we got the trailer and name of the update, titled The All-Time Heist Update. The trailer showcases the exterior with unicorn guards roaming outside, bits of interior with Armada troops inside with Queen talking in the background. First thing I want to mention, hold on. Seeing Napoleon's hat in this little like trophy room area has got me thinking of one thing. This is my game theory right here. I'm thinking seeing Napoleon's hat, it means one thing, and that's that the Armada ate Napoleon or fed them to the rich people unknowingly. KingsIsle, you have 1 month to prove this theory wrong. Your time starts now. Second thing I want to mention here is that the area that is going to be from the new update, being Trianon Palace, is a asset that was not used for what I believe was going to be a part of Arc 1 in its original plan. But I am glad to see that they're actually taking this unused asset and actually putting it in the game. And hopefully it's gonna be good enough, you know? Test Realm will then launch on July 7th, with immediately afterwards having some connection issues and players wondering why. What it most likely was, and unfortunately might have been, was that KingsIsle's headquarters are located near where the tragic Texas floods were, and seeing that it was happening around that time, it would make sense. The next day, though, on July 8th, Test Realm would go back online. To conclude the rumors and hype leading up to July 7th's Test Realm, I want to say it did not start off good at all. First off being that the amount of devs were told to us, and then just it being a possible Valencia 3, just personally not getting my hopes up. But as time went on, it slowly got me and other players to shake off the lowest of expectations we might have for this game and actually look forward to it at what might be Pirate's last chance at some sort of life. But with all the rumors and reveals for the all-time heist update and its release closing in, I wanted to do one more thing before the update comes to Live Realm, and that was to go through all of Arc 2 again with the reduction in difficulty and the minor fixes here and there. Now, did I go through the major fights all over again as either myself or in a group as my Buccaneer? Well, in a group, yes, but by solo, no. That's not what we're doing for this video. Instead, I want to do it with a pirate that has not been through this part yet. Meet Fred. Agreeable Fred. You're going to agree with him because you're going to agree with him. He's Agreeable Fred. I don't know what else to say. This lucky guy has made it all the way to Arc 2 when we begin it here as a test monkey to test its changed difficulty. No pay to win gear, bundle, or pack companions, and this is the squad you're most likely running through with. Have fun! I have no clue where my footage for the Sinbad trilogy went for my swashbuckler, so I'm just going to describe it and just show you comparisons for what it was like to go through it. Part 1, I at least remember that one being not that hard, as thankfully I drawed turn 1 Black Fog and were easily able to defeat the crab guy and Pafo thanks to him just not moving sometimes. That's a thing here, by the way. Almost lost like 1 or 2 guys, but thankfully made it out of here with no casualties. Part 2 was mostly the same as well, though I did lose Fan at the last fight. Either way, parts 1 and 2 were more of like that light work, no reaction type of meme, you know, dust the hands off, you're good to go. Let's get into part 3. God damn it, dude. God damn it. Part 3 for me is creeping up to be the worst from Arc 2. It's still Crocotopia, but there's an argument you can make now. I genuinely hate Wheeler's Lair and having to go through it anytime, and this just reinforced that. It's just that Fan kept dying. Sometimes Sarah and El Toro might, but Fan died in at least all the fights. And every time they died, the boo-boos just kept racking up. And every time the boo-boos just kept racking up, this guy would drive me more and more into poverty. And when I did reach poverty, I was pretty much dragging these beaten up and bruised corpses throughout the whole dungeon. I could never draw Black Fog turn 1, even when it's at the number 1 spot, and swashbucklers weren't doing swashbuckler things. And that's dodging. You know that one scene from SpongeBob when him or Patrick are having to go through the perfume department? That was Sinbad Part 3. Oh, and it doesn't stop there. At first, Tartarus was, keyword was, fine at first, got through all the fights leading up to getting into Tartarus fine. But in the Nerf Shady Gillies fight when Sarah went down, I knew what was in store for me. Hades Throne Room, the Sador and Electo fight, I either almost wiped as a group or lost a man. My stress meter was going through the roof here. And then Crocotopia. The first fight lured me into a false sense of security. Toro and Fan both went down in the second fight. Fan went down in the third fight. These polls are pissing me off. Toro went down in the fourth fight along with, you guessed it, Fan. This is the fourth fight and Fan is at max boo-boos. KingsIsle, this plea to rework Miracle Mitch has now turned into a cry for help, or just fix the gold system. It's so expensive. Everything's so expensive nowadays. Can you please do something about it? The fifth fight, I wiped. I was almost there and I wiped. El Toro's at max boo-boos now. What's the point of being a swashbuckler if you don't do swashbuckler things? Round 2, much easier. daily pulled by the enemies, and we all survived the 6th fight. A good sign, you might think. Stop it. Optimism is not a valued thing in this part of the story. The Armada ship dungeon, Total Dead turn 2. The following fight was going fine, and oh no, everyone has gone down at least once. Why are we not close to done yet? Bellatrix fight? Yeah, as if. Pfft, get better, Goofy. Pay no attention to what you see here. The Bone Drake fight got Sarah, meaning all of my main 3 companions are at max boo-boos. Then there was this draconian fight by this crystal where I won easily, but I went to check out my funny quest name that they have here, closed it to see this.
What the fuck? Whoa. Oh, what the?
And I know what you might be saying, but Mike, you had plenty of time to react and back away before you get pulled. What gives? Come here, come here. All of your favorite pirate and WizTubers are too busy scrolling through TikTok and Instagram to be paying attention to the gameplay. So here we are. That is my reason. Moving on.
Funny enough, when I recall back into the dungeon, no draconians. Take the wildest guess at what happened during this fight. That dungeon that's literally called Find the Locking Device. Great name, by the way, with that annoying scarabs and that fucking bird that I hate. Not a big deal, actually. Thank God for the minor difficulty reduction here. That weird lion crocodile hybrid fusion took me 3 attempts to finish. All of these fights had the decider be if I got Black Fog turn 1, and if the swashbucklers do, say with me again, swashbuckler things. Finally got through that fight. What can make it any better than that? Oh! I gave up doing it solo and did the last dungeon with these 2 guys that were at the same part.
But we did it. We made it through our 2 guys. Woohoo!
Now, was it worth it or was it better than when I last played through it? No, it was kind of the same. And that reminds me, I'll probably need to go through it again when the level cap gets here just so I can see if it was better to go through it at level 75. Everyone, this is Luke. He'll be right back. I don't know how to segue into this next part. It's test run time. The all-time heist update dropped on July 7th, but got halted due to connection issues that I mentioned earlier, but was back in action again on the 8th. I'll say my thoughts on test run as what I have to say there as well. It's going to be similar to what I have to say on Live Realm. So let's just go over some points of mention that happened during test run at least. First thing is that when I talked about Crocotopia, there was at least 3 soft locks in the game that halt you from progressing, and it took a couple days to resolve it. Well, it was kind of like that here with the all-time heist update being 2 soft locks. The first one would be when you need to get into these crates and be smuggled to Trianon Palace. When you were able to do that, the problem is that, well, the quest wouldn't pop. So once you were teleported to the palace, you were able to progress, or you had to try again using some retro game cheat code button mashing to progress. I did it! Oh my god, I did it!
What? How?
Once the quest eventually popped, you would do 2 fights and run into the second and final soft lock. The game requires you to defeat a guard and collect a key to open a gate, but for some people when going up to the gate, you weren't able to interact with it. The easiest way to bypass it was to have someone in the ballroom, port to them, and then they can walk to the other side of the gate where the quest will pop. Alright, we're just waiting for Wombat. And then we're good. Oh, hey, Wombat. So while this soft lock turned into a progression blocker with there being a way to bypass them, it's still not fun to have to work around it in this sort of way. But hey, at least I got to it quick. But there is one noteworthy one I need to show.
There's a boss here that's literally T-posing.
I need to see this. Yeah. Bask in the glory of a posing unicorn. As the test realm continue on, animations would get updated and I would fill in this time before its final closure by buying all the companions and upgrading them. This is not a joke. I really did this. Even did the Magnificent 7 quest too. Test run for this update would finally close on July 31st, which left to the players now just waiting for Live Realm to release. Oh hey, the update's out. August 12th brought an announcement that KingsIsle services will be under maintenance late at night on the 13th, which included an update for Pirate. This kind of brought some confusion as well, as players didn't know if this was the update, as it was getting close to the end of summer and people were even going back to school soon. You would also kind of have this thing where Mordecai was kind of possibly dodging questions as well. You even had people made memes during the short span. It was kind of funny. But then he finally just said, yes,
It's the update. So August 13th, 2025, the all-time heist update has finally released to Pirate101. Will it live up to the hype and bring some much needed life into the game, or will it fizzle? Get it? Because it's like a miss in Pirate and Wizard. To go over the update notes for the all-time heist updates, starting with the main one being that players now have a new main quest line, which starts in Flotsam by talking to Bonnie Ann. Along with the new main quest line comes with the highly anticipated level cap increase. Wizard players, watch out, they're catching up. This came with 3 new powers and or talents to learn from your class trainer. For example, the Buccaneers level 75 power they learned was Ramming Speed, which in test run was first called Ram. Probably the best name to change for that, so you're not just like calling in battle being like, oh, I'm gonna use ram against my enemy, I'm gonna ram my enemy. Yeah, let's not take that out of context. Players are also now given a new storyline companion, being that guinea pig guard they teased earlier, and I was a bit hyped to know that I will have this guy on my team later.
Let's go! Yeah!
This companion was also experimental for the pirate team, as they have different epics depending on your class. For example, he will have Vengeance 2 if you're a Buccaneer, but for Swashbuckler he'll have First Strike 2, and the other classes will follow in their own ways. Experience has also been added to all of Arc 2 content, though not a crazy amount. For those who have already gone through that part of the story and still need experience after completing the update, they added 4 optional side bosses where you can also receive a good amount of experience after defeating one 7 times. If you don't want to do that, then you can just go run through the dungeons in the ballroom area and they will give you about 1000 XP. They also added a new Valencian pack containing 5 new companions that represent each class, and 2 separate companions you can unlock in the crown shop after defeating a large number of specific enemies. There were also some miscellaneous additions that came with the game as well that I'll show here on screen if you want to pause and read it for yourself. So what is the new story? Well, it all starts with Bonnie Ann figuring out a plan to find Oksana by finding the specific person of interest to send spies to find her.
What?
Oh, Capier's got a new voice now. After having Capier's most recent line just be him in silence, they officially have lines for Capier. I can't confirm confidently if this is the original voice actor for Capier, Zach Daly, or if he was recast here. Not only that, but Sinbad has a new voice as well. This most likely is because the voice actor for him was Chris, the same Chris from that drama I mentioned earlier, so you could probably see why. Though I'm struggling to figure out where I've heard this voice in the game before. I thought it was Crustacean in Sinbad Part 1, but I don't think so anymore. Someone let me know in the comments, please. Back to the story. Bonnie Ann says the person of interest is the Secret Master, aka the supposed Mayor of Flotsam. The way Bonnie knows how to find him is to go to One-Eyed Jack. We ask him about seeing the mayor, which he denies and points out that we're out of favors, but coincidentally, he owes Albino one. Jack, after being threatened, says he can't answer it but to go find people near the store, where we meet Sharky. His name alone makes him now a top 10 character. Sharky foolishly blurts out that the mayor is real and she is right behind this door. The mayor is a magenta squid named Nancy. Nancy is already familiar with Oksana, who seems to be part of this group called the Exiles. She says she will help us if we bring her back some space jelly, and once that is done, she tells us to come back in a few weeks to where she'll have more info for us. Leaving her place and trying to figure out what to do next, Bonnie comes up with the idea to look for more map pieces in the meantime by traveling back to Valencia and talking to our good old pal Steed. Steed tells us that Valencia is still the same, though with a broken and weakened military power. Clockworks still remain but are no longer being made and are more of like servants replacing the guinea pig workers. Finally, he confirms to our character that Queen survived the final battle and remains in Trianon, where she hosts her parties and mourns the loss of Cain.
I expect they are also far less stinky. No?
Okay, where did that come from?
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
Steve sends us to Florenza's tavern keeper Nobartinello, who we met at the end of Valencia Part 2, as he may have better info on Cain's map pieces. Nobartinello tells us the pieces are at Trianon Palace, and sends us to Ardito, that's this guy from the teaser, you know, for how we can get there safely. Ardito will tell us more on the condition that he joins our crew, and tells us the map pieces are in Cain's crypt. He goes on to say a direct attack will not work, and sneaking in is the best way. Ardito's friend Aldo helps us with that by letting us jump in crates that are heading towards Trianon, drops us off, and will come back once the mission is over. Once there, the plan is to go into the sewer drains, which, pay no attention to this chaos right here, are unable to open without making a large commotion. Too late, as a guard founds us, so we beat him up until he is actually visibly unconscious on the ground. Can't have him lying around. Time to bring him back to where we started then. Somebody keeps respawning, please keep respawning. Yeah.
Yeah, give me more, give me more. Let me pick him up again. Put him back down and pick him up again. Pick him up. Yeah, there we go, there we go. Back to sneaking around, we now attempt to enter through the banquet hall, but the door has been booby-trapped with naphtha on the other side, leaving our only option of the ballroom entrance. Should be right next to each other and easy to enter, you may say. Enter big and inconvenient wall to say otherwise. We go around, approach this gate, but it is locked and the bushes seem suspicious.
We may be cooked.
They put naphtha in the bushes. Beat up some more guards, stealth-like, get a key, open the gate, tactical maneuver around, boom, we're in the ballroom and Queen is waiting. She knew we had eventually come for the map pieces, so she's hitting the key to get into the crypts in 3 possible locations: Kane's trophy room, Queen's salon, and Bishop's library. If we don't find them in time, then she'll remove the oxygen from the palace. That's not good. After she leaves, we go to the east wing to check the salon and trophy room, where we find no key, but Queen pretty much cosplaying as Deacon and Rook. After being there twice in the fights, we regroup back in the ballroom and go into the west ring to actually find the golden key. This one got a chuckle out of me. Check the library, find no key, and Queen dressed as Bishop. This line made me laugh as well, honestly.
See? Whoa! Nice nose!
Whoa! Once defeated for a 3rd time, she locks us in the library to suffocate us to death, then presumably leave somehow. I don't know, okay? After she does, we get shown to Fuel being at Trianon Palace to save us. Fuel tells us Queen lied and the key was in the ballroom the whole time, so we take a hidden passage to surprise Queen. She's confused how we made it out to where Fuel reveals himself to her and spoils her plans about how she planned a coup to take the aristocracy hostage at her party tonight. Even with her plans exposed, she shows up in her 4th outfit of Fuel. Defeat her a 4th time, grab the key to the crypts to find Kane's body with his head missing, but also the chest containing the map pieces. Queen arrives in her standard outfit thinking we stole his head and fully loses her cool and composure. One last fight to beat her has her going crazy to run away for us to collect not just 2, but 3 map pieces, meaning we are only 1 away from completing the full map. We exit out of the sewer drain we originally tried entering in to head to the getaway ship.
Get to it! Quick!
Take him with us! We give Aldo a letter of Queen's plans, flee back to Forlenza, and return to the mayor in Flotsam, where she tells us her spies died and to come back later. Oh, okay. So that's the update. So now that the story explanation is over, it's time to go over the good and bad from this update, and I thought it'd be good to start off with the bad. Bad number 1. The length. So what I was going to say is that it felt short, but what was surprising to me as I look back in my solo footage I did record is that this is somehow the 2nd largest. Excluding moments I left to sell items or to go to my class trainer while also still listening to all the dialogue, it took almost 2.5 hours. And if you skip the dialogue and run through it as quickly as possible, it'll only take a little over an hour. And I get the argument of quality over quantity, but this took longer to release than the last 2 updates did. Not only that, but just how easy you're able to get from point A to B, it seems like more content could have been filled out in these parts. So I'm kind of conflicted if I want to say that it's a bad thing from the update, or it's just sad that each update from R2 can be completed in 2 hours or less. Bad number 2, the first half and the ending. When playing through the update up to the point of getting to the ballroom, I was kind of bored just going through it. I mentioned it earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. The whole mayor thing, way too easy, and it honestly just feels like an arc from the Bad Batch. Me and Nancy felt like Sid and we were the Bad Batch. And if you've seen that show, those were the most boring parts of it. You know what would have been a cool idea? Maybe like a one-time instance where you're trying to get onto Trianon by smuggling in those crates from Aldo. And as you're sailing on there, you're in like the bunker area of the ship. And then for some reason, your ship gets pulled over and they're doing like some never before routine check to just see like there's nothing suspicious in the crates, and then someone in the crew is chattering too loud, let's say Sinbad, because all my homies hate Sinbad. They go into the bunker, fight us, we win, and then we go into our Armada gear that we had from Sivella, and then like we go up there and we're like, hey, everything's good, you know, we're doing fine, no need to worry about us. And then our crew can just be the aristocracy. They can be, that's what they can be. All is good. We make some BS thing saying like we're gonna sail on the ship with them to get to Trianon, and boom, we continue on with the story. That's just something I just spit out the top of my head. Let me know what you guys think about that. And then there's the ending. When you get back to Nancy to report back on any info, and she tells you that the spies got killed and just report back later. It feels anticlimactic. Bad number 3.
teleporting is annoying. So you know how I said you can't teleport and switch realms in Tartarus and almost everywhere in Croc? Yeah, that's the same here. You are thankfully able to switch realms and areas anywhere, but you can't teleport to players in the Trinon area. Yet you're able to if they're in the ballroom. Why is this still a thing? From what I watched, it's because Tartarus and Croc areas were gauntlets and wizard, and like I mentioned before, you can't teleport into gauntlets. So seeing this still being an area that isn't a port from Wiz, it's a totally pirate thing, yet it's here, I'm gonna call it out for what I see it as it just being very lazy. It is genuinely annoying that this is still present in a majority of Arc 2, and it needs to change. Bad number 4. The past bad things are still present. Bad camera angles, no animation, enemies just deciding to not move or attack, odd quest names, mislook from the writing standpoint not only was apparent in test realm, but is still present in some sort of way in live realm.
You took one from Egg Shen and Mushu.
Huh?
Egg Shen and Mushu. Took one from Egg Shen and Mushu.
Not only that, but then like the interaction you have with Catbeard and Sinbad, with Sinbad being like, whoa, who the heck are you? They never met? There's like a scene in Sinbad Part 3 where Bonnie Ann's like, hey, it's all Catbeard's doing, and then he has that little ... Was he not there? Either way, how did they not run into each other at all in the ship? Like, you know, during like coffee break or something like that. I think that one's just dumb. Yes, this update is still new by the time I'm playing it and I'm recording this video, and I want to believe that the developers will go back and fix these soon, but some of those bad things I mentioned still haven't been addressed in past updates of Arc 2. So I'm not confident that it will get updated soon. Either it will in a few months or just not at all. And that's all I have to say about the bad. Now let's finally get on to the good. Good number 1. It's better than Crocotopia. Yippee, KingsIsle, congratulations. Good number 2. Queen. Oh my god. She carries this update. Honorable mentions to the new voice actors from Arc 2, as I do think they have some slight improvements to their voice. But honestly, the voice actors for Queen deserve some high praise for the performance she gives here, as whenever she is on the screen, that is when I'm paying attention the most. Queen just slowly throughout the way of progression, losing that facade of regalness and composure until she finally snaps and goes berserk at the end.
Contessa, you wound me. Though considering the company you keep, who are you to question anyone's taste? It is done at last, my beloved. You are avenged. You! How are you still alive? You helped them! Cain's murderers! You traitor! Why? Animals! That's what you are! Vile, disgusting, sweat-stained bags of tripe! Fetid, stinking heaps of flesh! You'll not mount my creator's head on your wall, I swear it! I'll mount your heads in Cain's trophy room instead!
Great. Good number 3. The second half. This is excluding the ending, of course, but not only did I pay attention to when Queen showed up, but the whole time we went from both wings were just nice to go through. And then out of nowhere, Fuel showed up, the doom scrolling was put on pause. Fuel is not a good guy, nor is he really on our side. He just likes us in some sort of weird way. He's doing this just because of how the rest of the court has viewed him as a failed, flawed, and broken one for the bunch. And now Fuel finally has a moment to make Queen feel how he has been viewed throughout his existence. This is just doing it just to spite her, just like some sort of pettiness, and it's great to watch. Good number 4. Ardito is fun. Ardito and the way they went about it is honestly something I like a lot, and what I thought was a successful experimentation. Not only that, but he's actually good to use. Spoilers for what I'll get onto later, but in the West Wing's first fight, I fled because I wasn't going to be a favorable matchup having Chantel. I switched her out for Ardito, which he gets this new epic talent called Gunstinger, aka Relentless but towards ranged enemies, and it worked. It's nice having this main story companion that you can use in PvE instead of niche situations. Third time's the charm really does work. Please do more experimentations. I liked it. Good number 5. The reuse of assets in plain sight. I didn't realize until watching a video from this channel mentioning it through the run of Test Realm, but they reused areas of Lancia Part 2 and just changed up the art around it. I knew Cain's crypt was a reuse of Marco Polo's tomb, but it works here. I also knew immediately this hallway was a reuse of the hallway in Sevilla. but it was cool to see that they did a good job with the art here to make it look different enough. What I didn't know was that the main area for both wings were reskins of the area in Forlenza with the Otherworld diplomats, Palazzo Atria, and it works real good here. Some of you probably didn't even notice that until watching his or my video, and now you know. When you see these reskins done right, it's a good first baby step into possible other reskins they can do down the line. Maybe that's wishful thinking for a reskin Skyway, but I can dream. And good number 6. And yes, there's actually a 6th one here. And that's picking up the knockdown unicorn all over again. We put him back down. We pick him up. We're gonna go up and down. Okay, actually, good number 6. The difficulty in drops. So I will say the side bosses here can be difficult to deal with solo, with some more than others where you're gonna need a group to fight them. But for the main quest, I feel like the team was able to do something here that they have a hard time attempting to do on the first try. And that's finding a balance with the fights. I don't know if this is because my Buccaneer has much better gear and companions compared to what I first had, but I managed to get through it with medium difficulty, honestly. Because of that, it makes this part of the story feel more bearable to go through than past installments. Not only that, but the drop rates for the gear feel much better. I'm glad that it's not going to be me dedicating a whole day to play this area in hopes to get some good gear, with it only feeling like a couple attempts. This is good replayable gameplay here. I'll more than happy replay both wings just because it's medium difficulty and the drops are good. In conclusion, the update doesn't start on the engaging side of things to get you really hooked in, but once you reach the ballroom and the 2 dungeons, it's a solid experience with some eye-catching moments that sadly finishes off on a less than desirable ending. Ranking the update against anything else that came out from Arc 2, you can even say it's the second best or the best update, with the competition being Tartarus, and there's no other competition other than that really. But how is the update on its own? If I were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, even with the slight annoyances I had, but the fun upsides to it, I'd say 6 out of 10. But that's just the update on its own. Now comes the question I've been wanting to ask. Say you're someone that's in Aquila that has yet to go through Volunteer Part 2 or anything in the second arc. Is it worth to go from there to the current endpoint now with this new gameplay and the level cap increase? Remember Luke from earlier? Yeah, this was his job. Seeing as he was the closest to the end between my Witch Doctor and Privateer, he was going to be the guinea pig for this mostly solo experiment. If you do side quests, you can get to level 70 after you beat the Hydra, then 75 when you finish that whole marble quest with Desdemona, meaning I am now max level even before starting Arc 2 in the fight with Cain. So is it worth it? Yeah, sit down, Papa's got some bad news here. All those fights leading up to Cain were fine. The fight with Cain was a different story, and it all started off with Rook and his ability Ricochet. I didn't think of recording this fight because I didn't think it was going to be that difficult, and I was wrong. Why is it with Rook, that's when all my guys want to start chaining? I had attempted this fight solo at least 6 times, and all those times I had to restart. And that was either because I just didn't get a good pull on abilities, none of my guys were hitting or chaining, and Rook would just obliterate me. And most of the time, it was Rook. I tried doing this solo again and again, and the more I failed, the more I got frustrated. I gave up doing that fight solo and just tried desperately to look around for anybody that wants to do the Cain fight right now. And I found one, but he's also a musketeer, which is still going to be a hard time for us to deal with Rook. I was beginning to lose hope until I saw him. I saw that name. Impolite Sean Maxwell. If you haven't heard of who Impolite Sean Maxwell is, then educate yourself. Listen up here. Running into this man in the wild is like finding a shiny Pokemon. And in this case, for what I'm trying to do right now, Jesus Christ himself. Didn't even reach out to him. He was just doing this dungeon just because he's built like that. He's him. Literally saved my mental state here, or at least for now. Either way, the statue's being built. On the bright side, I was able to finally dip my toes into Arc 2. Sinbad Part 1, someone did join me, but that wasn't going to be difficult even if I had soloed it. Though I did decide to finally solo it, and it was fine, honestly. Part 2 was fine also. A few casualties, but that's okay. Then we get to Part 3. My least favorite part of Arc 2. Unfortunately, around this time, I had connection issues a lot. The worst is when it would occur mid-combat and I'd get a warning and be stuck here for a few minutes, or the whole time with almost all the time I'd leave the fight and do it all over again. It even caused the game to freak out a bit with the Claw dungeon. Says I didn't defeat Claw, left the dungeon, doesn't show a recall button, but says I defeated him. Just moving on, I guess. These connection issues were on my end, and these won't take into account my full experience of the game. It did bother me, but I will push this aside. Now we're at Wheeler's Lair, and
Just look at this. Defeat these guys and then no quest arrow, which is very odd as back in November there was one, and the only time it didn't show a quest arrow was when you head towards the final fight to confront Braun. Fast forward today and the most of the quest arrows are now like that. Why is it like that now? At the Braun fight, I totally forgot he is pretty much like Rook and did not play my first turn well, so I fled, recalled back to the dungeon, walked back to Braun, and Braun not there. I thought that was odd and fought the enemies that were around him when you first entered. Maybe that would pop the quest, only to find out it only made it worse. After the fight, what would happen is that Braun would spawn here to show he has been shut down, but I didn't fight Braun and the quest didn't pop. Back out and into the room, same thing. Recall back into the dungeon. Dude, I swear to God, if I have to go through this dungeon again, I'm going to crash out. Royally crash out. Walk back to Braun. I'm gonna go down there and it's gonna show that I can't fight him. And it's the same thing. I'm soft locked for my current run of this dungeon that I already don't like, and I have to do it all over again. And that doesn't mean I'm soft locked fully from trying to do this dungeon ever. It's just I gotta redo the dungeon, and I don't want to do that. That broke me. After that happened, I just exited out of the game, ranted on a call about it with some friends, and walked away from my desk. Went outside for some fresh air, walked back inside, built a Lego to relax, and laid in my bed till I felt ready to redo that dungeon again. And I did it with no problems. But then I found out some more oddities outside of the dungeon. For example, I walked out of this area to get into this area, walked across to this part, and somehow ended up in the same area. I tried it again and see the quest arrow is pointing backwards, but that doesn't make sense as I just came from that direction. Go across like I did earlier, and it happened again. Third time's a charm, but instead I backed up and realized these doors are logically incorrect. I should be exiting out of this door and entering that door, but now I'm entering and exiting from this door. But I completed part 3 with no other oddities after that, and I logged off for the night. After that, I really contemplated if I wanted to complete the rest of the game or not. Because I was feeling so miserable here with all these bugs and glitches old and new, then did I answer my question? The answer has to be no, if I'm feeling even more miserable than the last 2 times I did it solo, and not even the new level cap and good gear I now possess were making this more smoother and enjoyable for me. So I decided to sleep on it and make a decision in the morning, where I decided to continue onwards. Going through Tartarus, that was fine. Though I don't know why this only happens in Arc 2, where some enemies will either not move or attack. On top of that, Shady Gilly still doesn't spawn in, and you have to walk through that door or switch realms for him to appear. But after that was done, all I could think of now was 4 down, 2 to go. Krokotopia was Krokotopia. I don't know what else I should have expected here. All the way to the pyramid, I had 1 or 2 players with me, and I'm glad I did, because when I entered this dungeon, it's just me and another player. Keep watching, keep watching. Where did this third guy come from? How did we somehow end up in his dungeon run? Fast forward to the Bellatrix dungeon, full squad on the sigil, only to spawn in down 1 guy and no Bellatrix. Re-enter the dungeon, same situation as the previous dungeon, but no Bellatrix still. What we had to do was switch realms, meaning we had to go back to Skull Island, switch realms there because you can't do it in Krokotopia, teleport back to Krokotopia, enter the dungeon again, and there's Bellatrix. It's working now. Kind of. Now, do we have to re-enter the dungeon so that third guy can join us as you're not able to teleport into this dungeon? Nope. He just entered through the sigil like how we did back on the ship. Now I'm in the final dungeon going into the final fight. But as I've seen happen before in just normal runs of this dungeon, you can go around this guy and complete it without having to fight him. Last one, the all-time heist update. No problems, as good as it went for my Buccaneer and Swashbuckler. And just like that, the experiment was done. And now having gone through it, I now feel like I can more confidently answer this question. Is it worth getting all the way to that part of the story? And the answer is no, it's not. I was talking to some people about this on a call, and I have to agree with what they had to say here next. If I were to recommend this game to someone, I would. But I'd tell them to get a membership that is the cheapest to get, which should be a month, play through Arc 1 and defeat Cain, then don't bother with Arc 2. If the content from a game is only worth playing an update that's almost a decade old, and everything after that is not worth playing through due to bugs and glitches that haven't been addressed yet, poor story, or embarrassing looking areas to then remember you are paying a monthly subscription for this, then that's a major problem. And then you have the most recent KI Live that happened on August 14th at around the 49-minute mark. Blind Mew discusses their 5-year plan, where he planned out for one Skyway with a plan B in case that he cannot get a Skyway. Another team member that is a bit controversial in the eyes of the player base, again, do not harass anybody I talk about here, that person being Andrew, goes on to say that Skyways are very high resources and you have to outweigh if you want more content or do you want to put more time into a Skyway in which the Skyway might not even be that interesting. Blind Mew would later say in a Discord message that Andrew wasn't ready for my answer, which honestly it didn't look like anyone in that room was. This honestly harks back to when Fan mentioned the number of developers working on Pirate. It's nice to have a team be transparent with the player base, but not this much because the initial reaction to both of these pieces of info. There's such things as being too transparent. Maybe the team isn't dysfunctional like they say, but what it looks like is that there is a lack of communication between them. This 5-year plan should have been talked about as a team and not on a live stream just because it might have been itching at you to talk about. This type of plan needs to be carefully thought out. I had to go back and record this part as I don't think I really answered this next question, but still don't think I'll be able to here. The biggest question that players and people outside of the game ask is if Pirate101 is dead. Well, just look up from what might be considered as a dead game, then the answer is no. It'll probably be over 2 weeks when this video is uploaded, but the main realm in Pirate has a normal status instead of a perfect one with lots of players in the main hub area. Even with that definition of a dead game, the answer has always been not yet. Somehow Pirate101 has been able to ride this fine line of being dead, but at the same time still being alive enough to consider it not dead. And is that still the answer today, or is it miraculously alive just from this update, or maybe it was the nail in the coffin? To me, the answer is still that first one, being not yet. Even with the continuation in the story and the pros I highlighted from the new update, those cons I feel like are a real eyesore and need addressing as soon as possible. What I'm going to say here might sound rude as I'm not trying to sugarcoat it here, but again, it needs addressing as soon as possible and it should be on their top priority following this update and on their 5-year plan. 3 words: fix your shit. Arc 2 desperately needs some polishing with all the mess I pointed out here and at the end, and until that's done, it's not worth playing through. Again, do I recommend this game? Yes, but just play Arc 1 and don't even bother with Arc 2.
Also, can I voice one of the characters on the game, please?
And here we are at the present time, or at least as of right now when I'm recording this. Something I didn't realize until mashing up these videos together is that it's been about 14 months since I posted that first one, then 7 months later I posted that second one, and then 7 months later here we are. Just a weird coincidence, I just thought I'd mention that, kind of funny. But with it being coincidentally 7 months since I last talked about this game on my channel, what has happened since then? Well, separate from the game, I did a video discussing the paywall difference between the 2 games on Just Fang's channel. Definitely give it a watch, I'll link it in the description. Another thing separate from the game was that there was this big old drama regarding the mods on the Pirate101 Discord server. And as much as I want to discuss it on here or bring someone on here to talk about it because I feel like it is important, it's complicated. From what I've been told, no one knows who's really in the wrong, so I'm just gonna have to say, do your own research on this one. But back to the game itself, what has happened since then, what has been added? Not much, really. I know the time between the 2 parts had the benefit of the all-time heist being rumored between this time, though since the update dropped over 9 months ago, the most we have right now was around February getting a rumor that could lead to Polaris, aka France, being the next world possibly, which is arguably the next most wanted world to be added into Pirate right next to this other world known as Grizzleheim. If that's the case, then let's just hope it doesn't have the same fate as the last world that was the most wanted one. But what was added to the game between part 2 of my video and now is almost parallel to each other in what was added between part 1 and 2 of my videos. Existing companions got reworked, companions that were exclusive to gambling, packs got buffed. That's actually where the parallels end. But was there anything of importance between August 2025 and now? Well, if you play the game, there is. El Toro got another promotion. It's kind of funny to think how this other core companion, Monkey King, is due to get a promotion thanks to a Discord poll they ran a while ago, and they haven't done it yet. They just said, give the ball another promotion. If I search Monkey King promotion, there was a pretty recent message from Blind Mew on April 29th hinting at possible promotions for the next episode, but when someone sent a message hoping for a Monkey King promotion as one of them, he responded back that he can't make any promises, but will try. Along with explaining the reason why they were able to do one with El Toro so quickly, was it fitting perfectly with Trianon, along with some other explanations I'll leave here for you to pause and read. Yeah, that's cool, that's understandable, but I do have a question. why was he on the poll then? Were they just hoping that if Monkey King won, they can just do a buff to his stats, but then they realized fans want a promotion, and then they were just gonna do gold, but also realized fans probably don't want that, so now they're like, huh, well, shit.
I never thought I'd get this far.
So now you're just kind of waiting for a part of the story to work with a Monkey King promotion that may take a while to get. Even though this is the only piece of content I'll be covering here since last fall, I did want to make it special, and I did so by live streaming it. If you want to watch the full 2-hour stream, I'll have it in like the card right here and in the description below too. Also, this is going to be on YouTube as well, so say hi to YouTube, say hi to YouTube. And honestly, thank God I did. It made it much more bearable to get through. Though me saying this makes it seem like this was a pain to get through, just like almost everything in regards to the second arc storyline. So, was it? I'll save that at the end, of course, but for now, let's get through the story of this promotion quest. The quest starts off with El Toro talking about how his father taught him his fencing skills based on the renowned unicorn fencer that is prevalent in wizard Diego the Duel Master. For once, Diego has left Ravenwood and is back home in Valencia, which is the perfect opportunity to learn from him and become an even greater mask duel master. We go to his home where we meet him and he looks odd. I don't know, our character's like 11 but has the mentality of a 6-year-old after losing 5 years of memory in Aquila. After a little talking, Diego tests our strength in a duel, which after winning, he agrees to teach him. Our first test is to find a secret hidden and totally inconspicuous chest in the house. I think my problem with the Diego thing so far is I wonder where it is! And bring him the amulet.
I feel mojo hiding close.
Okay, time out. So apparently, from what I've been told, is that the reason why Old Scratch's voice sounds different is because the original voice actor for Scratch wasn't able to make it into the booth to record his lines. Which if that's the case, 1, glad it's not permanent, not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of the voice here. But 2, why is he even in this dialogue? He only has this one line, and then that's it. And I get why, he's the guy that tells you when there's like magic or mojo afoot, and so you just bring him in and be like, oh, say the line. It's a nitpick, I know, let's just get back to the story. Opening that wall triggers a trap, definitely did it on the first try, and retrieved the amulet. Diego tells El Toro about the second test, which is to seek out this guy and ask about his cousin. He didn't like that. The third and final test has us retrieve an orb from a dark wizard, which we do after another fight. There is one final favor Diego has us do, which is to deliver a letter to the Justice Hall, which paints us out as a bad guy. Crazy deja vu. What did I say? That's okay, we use our hey, we defeated Kane pass. Head back to Diego's house where we find someone named Amelia and the real Diego. We find out we've been tricked as Diego was actually his evil brother Roberto. Shocker. The one unicorn guy from earlier comes back for revenge, beat him up again. Things get more cleared up. We have this moment here.
Tricked? Are you saying your friend couldn't tell you the difference?
Forgive me, good man.
Yeah, wait, go back.
Your friend couldn't tell you the difference between you?
Yeah, explain that, El Toro.
Okay, racist.
Now we gotta find Roberto as he has Diego's wife. We found him and I actually had this moment happen.
I got this!
Fuck. Damn. This is not good. Ow. This is not good. Yeah, take that. Stop it. This is not good. This is not. I'm dead.
Stand back and peep the light show. Green Lantern's got this.
It's so true. It's so true. It's okay, we won. The actual Diego gives El Toro the big thumbs up, tells him he did it, and we complete the promotion and... Oh. A few things to say here, some good, some bad, so let's start off with the good. I didn't hate it. I don't really have anything that's profound or a list of things to say why it's good, so it's just good. I didn't hate it. So now let's talk about the bad. And to start off, most of it really has to do with El Toro himself. He is incredibly stupid here. I get the blind loyalty. He learned skills from his dad that were based off of Diego, but he's smarter than this, I would think. It just feels a bit overplayed here. But also, is Arc 2 where we get to see El Toro say bits and pieces of things that sound racist? There was that comment I highlighted earlier with him saying how the guinea pig people are stinky. What the fuck? Now he can't tell the difference between unicorns? And then the new promotion design. I already knew what it looked like way before this quest came out, and I wasn't a fan of it then, and I'm still not a a fan of it now. It's the face and hat. That's pretty much it. Other than El Toro, the quest was very inconsistent with the gameplay. So here's some footage of someone playing it, or around the time it was released, the first, second, and third fight gave you a full squad to its respective area, but in my gameplay, it was just me and El Toro. On top of that, the second fight just pulled me right in without clicking anything, and I didn't heal yet, so I lost on my first try. But in my second try, there were only 2 enemies now instead of 3. And I don't know if these fights had any chance of dropping gear or not, because I only got chest rewards 1 time. They don't even mention them tweaking the amount of companions in these fights in a patch note, so what gives? At least the amount of fights where we got chests were the same. Again, just 1 fight. To summarize, it's not a bad update or promotion quest, but the approach with some characters here and the inconsistency with the gameplay does bring it down for me. There were some other things here that dropped before and after this quest, like they added this guy that you meet in Monquista as a buyable companion in the crown shop, and this Obsidian Key dungeon to fight Angel Akmal. While I'm not going to buy a companion that I'll probably never use on any of my squads, did I at least do a run of that Obsidian Key dungeon for this video? No, I don't really care about it, and there's nothing that I need that I consider to be vital or anything that can progress the story. So again, why should I care? You can disagree with what I had to say here. I just rather have more quality of life updates than this. And that's all there is to discuss here from August 2025 to May 2026. But you can see there's still more to the video here, like if the game's worth playing in 2026. And I have a lot to say here, so enjoy gameplay footage for majority of this. The consensus with the majority of people who played the game, including me, seems that it's worth playing the game, but only to play Arc 1. But as someone who has played the game since its beginning and seen it change and evolve, my opinion has shifted. The best thing about Pirate compared to Wizard was it was very casual and solo friendly, at least it was to me. You didn't need to have the best of the best gear or companions to progress. But once Valencia Part 2 was added, that's when the shift began. You weren't going to have fun going through the game going forward if you didn't have the gear you got from either grinding or pack openings, which is just child gambling, it's a kid's game by the way, or the best of the best companions that was either bought from crowns or again just child gambling. And when playing through R2, you'll have companions go down in fights, and if you're not a member or the free Miracle Mitch perk isn't going on, the cost to heal them starts to rack up. And I saw a comment mentioning why I don't just switch out the other companions, because they're at max wounds, and that's due to being on a deadline to get that video done so my channel doesn't get lost in the algorithm. I do need to upload more consistently, honestly. But it's also to prove my point that the best you are given for free sometimes isn't enough. Getting a boost to my stats was going to give me a better chance of winning the fight, but it's not enough when my winning companions are starting to become an issue. I don't know why this team has this stubbornness when it comes to increasing the max gold. Either increase it or decrease the cost for Miracle Mitch. On top of making companions broken, they're also making gear broken to the point where you can easily solo fights that were considered difficult. Apparently there's a weapon that can heal you close to max health after getting below half. It just feels like a back and forth of, oh, we made the enemies too strong, well, time to buff the gear and companions, then lower the difficulty later on. And then separate from the gameplay, the story is just not good either. The part with Queen and Trianon was the best part, but other than that, it's not good. And I think the main issue with it that no one is talking about right now is bringing back the race to El Dorado so early in Arc 2. This again could be a hot take for me, but just hear me out. Remember, Blind Muse said they ended Arc 1 so they can move on with a cleaner slate with Arc 2, only to go back to the race to El Dorado, which is either going to be before or at the halfway part of this arc, depending on when this one closes off. I swear, this post ages like milk more and more as this current storyline continues. What's the point of ending it just to circle back with an inferior story, world, gameplay, main antagonist probably, and then go, behold, Race to El Dorado Light. You could say this is the Diet Coke version of the El Dorado race, maybe even the zero sugar version. But hey, maybe this take ages poorly. I hope I'm wrong. Hey guys, so a few hours later after recording all of that, it's now the evening. I don't like recording in the evening, but I have to talk about this or I'll be up all night thinking about it. It is almost 11 p.m. where I live right now, and I just got recommended this video. Definitely go check it out because oh my god, it adds on to my problems when it comes to the game. So this guy's name is Mickey. He's like the pirate team leader for the game, you know? He kind of is like the community leader. And in this video, this YouTuber is rightfully criticizing when it comes to the KI lives. I don't watch him because I don't got the time for that, but he has the time for it. And one thing Mickey mentions is that he hasn't played the game.
All right, so one of the things I wanted to quickly say about Pirate is I actually haven't had a ton of time to play Pirate101 since I joined.
You what?
But at the same time, he's live streamed it. So what are we doing here? Is this the first time you've played the game since you became the team leader manager after 6 months? How? But oh my god, it makes so much more sense. They don't
play the game, apparently, is what it seems like at least. What, and another thing I gotta mention, stop talking. It doesn't work out. This happened when Fan mentioned how many people are working on the game. People weren't happy about that. This happened when Blind Mew mentioned his 5-year plan right after that big summer update dropped, and people weren't happy about it. And now it's happening here with Mickey saying, hey, I don't play the game. I haven't played the game, at least probably in terms of him being the lead team manager for Pirate. KingsIsle's team, or at least Pirate, because that's the game I'm involved with the most, has this issue of being too transparent. Sometimes that's okay with being transparent. I guess Warframe is a good example from what I've heard from my friend that plays Warframe, but here it doesn't, because all you do is annoy the fans, you annoy the players, and then you wonder why is everybody mad? This is off script. I just had to rant about this because it's like, why should I recommend a game when there's so many problems and it seems like that the Pirate team doesn't play the game? Hire someone to answer these questions for you. God. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed so I can edit all this in the morning. Continue me. Going back to if the game's worth playing in 2026, it really depends at this point. Do you want to play a game where a quarter of it, albeit near the end, has been advised to avoid? Do you want to play a game that takes years to fix issues that seem minuscule to do? That teleportation of friends and realms in Tartarus, Croc, and Trianon just got fixed in April 2026. Tartarus has been around the longest out of the 3, meaning it took at least 2 years to get that problem fixed for Tartarus. That one battle where this guy had no battle music playing finally does after 2.5 years. As for when you finally finish a fight in some areas where the battle music is still playing, who knows? There was a door just here in Zoakmo for the longest time. Didn't lead anywhere, it was just right there as you enter this area. But now finally they got rid of it. Don't remember how long the door has been there, but possibly more than 2.5 years. Back to it, do you want to play a game that's just gambling? There's casinos you can go to instead, and apps that are just shoved in your face everywhere you go, so why not just do that instead if you were going to just do gambling? And do you want to play a game that had someone that does work on it lay out a 5-year plan with only one new Skyway guaranteed to be in it? Which is one of the things that makes it stand out between it and Wizard. The saddest part about this game is that the community wants this game to succeed, but the only thing that's stopping it from succeeding is KingsIsle itself. I hate that the videos I've made about this game is just me critiquing it all the time and being negative about it. If anybody from the KingsIsle team is watching this part of the video at least, please do something. I don't know if you kept your eye on YouTube, but there are people that are interested in the game. And when it comes to creating events for the game, it seems like the creator has to reach out to you to do it. Maybe hire someone that can coordinate consistent events that isn't just another KI Live. Maybe an event that helps you generate funds so you can put back into hiring more people to work on the game, which can hopefully improve the game and make more story updates come out at a more consistent and polished state. Ew. Is the game dead? As much as I want to say yes, it's almost there. I was talking to one of my friends about this, and he gives it like 2 to 3 more years, whereas I give it 1 to 2 more because it's been 9 months since they last released a big major story update. And that clock's ticking fast, as not a lot of content, let alone positive content about Pirate, is being made, and some fans are feeling burnt out and don't want to talk about it, play about it, or upload videos about this game. In terms of me making more content about this game, excluding any shorts I might do about it, I have 3 circumstances. 1, the game does die. 2, Arc 2 is completely finished and I can talk about it as a whole now. Or 3, someone wants to do a Pirate video with me, you know, a little special video, and I do feel like, yeah, I'll join in on it. Maybe one of those videos where it's the main uploader's icon and then it shows like some other collaborators are a part of it, that new YouTube feature. And I know I was just very critical on the game and very negative about it, but please, can I please voice a character? That'd be really cool. It doesn't have to be a main character. I can be a side character. You know, I can be like a little evil thing in the background. Kind of like here, I'll show you. I'll show you what I can do. Oh, good heavens. But we're going to end this video a bit differently. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. Thank you if you watched part 1 and 2. And thank you to everyone I've met throughout playing Pirate101, whether that be fans, subs, or content creators. I really hope the game does get better. Not just for me, but for everybody else that does play the game and synced a lot of money into the game too. Again, follow me on all my other social media platforms, but also subscribe, as that does put a smile on my face. Now, if you'll excuse me, have a good day. And yeah. Okay, bye.